monster inside of me. You better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy. To be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me. And he gets claws real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score. Never getting bored, loves of blood and gore. Always wanting more freedom from the source. They don't really listen until they feel the force of hard in. If you start shit, you be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped. You be chewed up and discarded.
And this world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. This world ain't right, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate.
dreams. I push a mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss, see. I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python, grab what I like real fast. Till until I have everything I attack, everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see, matter of fact.
Cause I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind, you know I'll always manifest it. I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind, you know I'll always manifest it.
Hello and welcome to My Mind Over Your Matter. My name is Rick. Let's turn on the cameras here and get this show started. How everyone's doing tonight? Hope everyone had a great day today. Me? Not too good. It's just a lot of aches and pains, and body's been acting up. My neck's hurting like a... You fill in the blanks. I'm trying to curse slurs, like less slurs. Listen to me, lurs. I even losing how to speak. That's crazy. I'm forgetting how to speak. It's just not like I have this pain in my neck. It's very persistent. And I know it's because we had a couple of systems coming through, and we're having a big system that's coming, and everything is just starting to hurt. I'm feeling it already. It just feels so weird. And I know it's this system that just passed us is what I'm feeling. I know it's not the next one, because the next one I'll tend to feel it like on Friday, but which is tomorrow. Maybe it's a day early and I'm starting to fucking feel everything, man. It's crazy. It's just crazy how everything's all tied in together. But let me see who's here. Albie, what's up, Albie? How you doing, man? Yeah, I checked it out. I already know all that stuff, Albie. It's like stuff that I already talked about. It's like everything I talked about. I know about the Jesus and the frequencies and all that stuff. I just spoke upon that the other day. It's to me, it's just something I already know, and I don't need to be refreshed on. But thank you for sending it. I truly appreciate it. But all that stuff I already know. It's like right now I'm focusing on what's current and what's going on right now. And what's going on right now is we got a storm coming. and we got heavy snow that's heading our way and up in the Northeast. And not only here in the Northeast, this is going to paralyze a good portion of the United States. We're going to get a lot of ice. Ice, baby. Yeah, I'm like, we're going to start our geography. You want to play geography? We're going to name all the states that are going to be affected. It's going to be a lot of states that are going to be affected. And this starting probably tonight into tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Uh, for here, up here in the Northeast, we're looking into Sunday, early Sunday morning, and snow is going to start and they ain't going to stop. And it's not going to stop until the next day in the afternoon. And the accumulations could be anywhere between a foot and a half, which is about 18 inches, to about 2 feet of snow, which is 24 inches. I think we'll end up around maybe 18 inches here. Not fun, but the snow is going to be pretty. It's going to be more of a dry, fluffy snow. That's what I call it, the fluffy snow, because it's not as wet in the beginning, but I think on the back end of the system is going to have like more moisture bound in it, and it's going to be more of a wet snow, which is going to make it a lot worse because you have all that fluffy snow and then you have that layer of snow, but it's wet snow and it has a coating on it, so it's going to be a little slippy sliding all over the place come Sunday into Monday and Tuesday. And I have an appointment. I have 2 appointments on Monday, which I think they're going to be, it might be jeopardized. I don't think I'm going to be able to make those 2 appointments. And then I got 2 more appointments on Tuesday. Those are more favorable because at least we'll have a whole Monday to clear out and we should be fine for Tuesday. I should be fine for Tuesday, but sometimes you have a monkey wrench that gets thrown into your plans and messes everything up. And the appointments that I have lined up are very important, especially the Tuesday. So the Mondays is more like physical therapy and chiropractor and all that good stuff and the primary. But Tuesday is more important because that one I get to see the sleep doctor, the pain management. I'm like, damn, I'm very busy. I'm gonna be very busy, and I gotta get everything taken care of before before it gets even more crazier. Because I think there's gonna be more systems that are gonna be happening after this system, but this is like the awakening of the snow coming down on us, and it's just gonna be hectic for traveling. If anyone's traveling, oh man, especially if you have anything booked for like Saturday, Sunday to go anywhere or come into anywhere, that's gonna be a nightmare. Whoever's traveling this weekend, thank God I'm not. But let's go ahead and go straight to the news and see. We're gonna start off with some weather.
We are bracing for a massive winter storm expected to blanket the country in snow and ice. The storm's impact zone could reach or stretch more than 1,500 miles from the plains across the south and into the northeast. The Arctic blast will also bring bone-chilling cold, potentially breaking daily high and low temperature records. In fact, it could get so cold that some are on the lookout for exploding trees.
What?
I've never heard of this. The rare phenomenon happens when the sap inside freezes and expands,
I heard of that.
causing frost cracking on tree trunks.
Learn something new every day.
I knew that.
I'm from Michigan, and I just learned that information today.
I don't want to be in a place, Tony, where I got to worry that the trees are going to blow up outside.
Well, they don't.
We got falling iguanas.
That's
so
true. That's true.
What's weirder?
So that sap, what it does is because it's so cold, it super cools and it
expands
rapidly, and it pops the maple trees and the pine trees, and that's why they say it explodes. It doesn't literally explode; it just the ice.
I don't want to be near that cold anyway.
No.
Well,
it's the moisture in the sap that expands and
pods
breaks
and
through
that ice expand. And when you're skating and you're in the middle of a game and you're hearing that,
not great.
It's
time to get off the ice.
It's not well, you're safe. It just kind of freaks you out, rightfully so. Hey, let me take you guys back out. So I want to show you what's going on with that Arctic air. Already one above.
One.
We are 74 degrees warmer. You know what the wind chill is going to be in Minneapolis tonight?
Negative 20?
40.
Oh, pass on that.
Yeah, that's a hard pass, right, Sonny? All right, let's take a look now at some
Well,
of those
it's a cool
numbers.
day
That
in hell
cold
for them.
air is going to be key in the potential for ice in many areas, right outside. We're in the upper 60s to the low in the mid 70s out there right now. There's the Arctic front. This front's going to stall out and wait on that energy where the hurricane hunters were yesterday investigating that storm system. For us, there are a few showers down to the south. We've had some clouds out there. Now we've got a smoke plume over the turnpike. We'll watch that. We did have a few showers here earlier over towards the Kennedy Space Center. Everything is now offshore as we head through the evening hours here. Notice the breezes here, 10 to 15 miles an hour, maybe just a scotch over that, not by much. Mild night tonight for sure. Check out these numbers now, falling back into the upper 50s by daybreak tomorrow morning. 51 Citra, 55 in Leesburg, 56 in Claremont. When you take a look at Bitlow, Melbourne, upper 50s and the lower 60s. Now, mild weather for us, becoming warm tomorrow afternoon. Notice the flow of the air coming in out of the east-southeast by late in the day. That's going to allow for temperatures here right around 80. Remember, up north, they're going to be below zero and around zero. So we're really the only state within the lower 48 that's going to
Florida.
experience
That's where my niece is.
Low 80s.
That's why I started off with this one.
A few degrees cooler there.
Beautiful 80
the coast. The
for
attraction
the day.
good.
Look at
We're
those
gonna be running
temperatures.
close to
Oh my
80
God, I
by
wish.
mid-afternoon. Now, let me give you an update. Yesterday, this was all blue. Look at all these winter storm warnings from New Mexico into Kentucky. Ice storm warnings now for parts of Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. This is all going to build to the east as we get into Saturday, Sunday, and Mondays. We wouldn't even be surprised if there's a heavy snow warning in the mountains of West Virginia and eastern Kentucky. As this storm system begins to take shape, we are going to be in the warm sector. We'll get a little bit of rain out of this, but it's a double-barreled storm system. When you have that,
people in
sometimes you can
Virginia.
get 1 to 2 feet of snow in some of the highest terrain.
A lot
Now,
of
this
people
is
are
our
going to be
high-resolution rapid refresh model there. And what this does, it gives us a really good fine detail of where the snow ice line is. And this lines up pretty well with the European model there over towards southern Kentucky and West Virginia. Remember, more ice you get, it's not good. It lowers the snow totals and creates more problems on the trees and the power lines.
There's going to be more snow than
updated
ice.
snowfall total. Again, this only goes out 72 hours. There's going to be a lot more snow than this when it's all said and done. But through Sunday at noon, a foot of snow there through parts of Oklahoma and Arkansas. And then to the south of that snow line, check out this ice from Dallas, Texas, Memphis, clear over towards Atlanta, Georgia, Murfreesboro, Charlotte, and Wrightsville. So again, that is going to be the big developing ice shield for us.
Wow, I saw an inch of
near
ice.
record heat, if not record heat, by Sunday afternoon.
Wow, look at Florida.
In Central Florida. So let's put it all together here for you.
80s.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
80s.
Very warm beach weekend for those that need the sunshine. Turning much colder
gonna
next week.
enjoy
Tuesday morning,
Sunday.
we could have another freeze in Marion County. More on that the next half hour.
Winter not over, Tony. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's keep it moving because we got more weather news to watch.
Well, good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Terry Olson here with meteorologist Alyssa Andrews, and we are here to update you on what is going to be one of the most historic and memorable weather weekends in years.
Finally, we're able to say it too, because it's been it. So here we are.
Literally, since you worked here at WBZ, we have not had more than like 6 inches in the storm.
I was thinking that on my drive in. I was like, this is my third winter season forecasting here in New England, and I've been waiting for a big winter storm, and oh boy,
You're gonna get it.
do we have one on our
We're going to
hands.
cash in this weekend. Let's get right to our next weather alert. We are alerting for really what's happened is a twofold sort of double whammy this weekend, a major Arctic outbreak and a major winter storm. And this is going to be not only the coldest air of the season and coldest air in a few years, I think it's going to be the biggest snowstorm in several years, and not just for us, but for the entire eastern and central part of the country.
Wow.
Look at those watches and warnings.
Lit up. I mean, this is the National Weather Service watches and warnings that they've issued. And just compared to yesterday, and this is exactly what we were talking about. We said these are going to expand. Get ready for more warnings and watches across the country. And here they are. We already have them, and including here at home, too.
Yeah, this spans for more than 2,000 miles, literally from the desert southwest through the Mississippi, Tennessee, Ohio River valleys, and right up into our backyard. And it's just going to keep expanding, and we'll keep getting more of these watches and warnings coming up. Quickly we'll start with the temperatures.
It's like that said, this is the nicest day. So
yeah, I mean, if you're outside today, you wouldn't know, and hopefully you do get a chance to get out and enjoy it. But you can see sort of the little coming into the northern sort of Midwest area. There's a little bit of a cold surge coming in, and that is our Arctic air right there.
And it's edging in, and it's about to be here soon. And this is why this storm coming up, it's going to be the perfect storm for us, and a massive one, because you've got that massive low pressure to the south bringing in moisture, and then here's that high pressure funneling in Arctic air, and it is coming our way here this weekend.
Look at those wind chills. Now, we're not forecasting 40 some odd below, but just to show you, like, the core of this Arctic air is truly remarkable. We will show you our forecast in just a second, but really anywhere sort of, if you were drive out of Boston and head west right now, it is brutal from the upper Midwest all the way into like the Dakotas and Montana. And this basically arrives here later tomorrow.
Oh, it's going to be bad. You know, there's a lot of people just talking to weather fans of winter weather and around Boston, around town, kind of missing that winter storm, missing the winter feel, and we're going to get it this weekend.
Here we go.
Certainly.
Look at this. So starting tomorrow about this time, temperatures will begin to plunge, and overnight tomorrow night into early Saturday, going to be brutal. This is also fairly rare. The National Weather Service has issued an extreme cold watch. I'm not even sure the last time they've sort of changed how they name these things. This may be our first actual extreme cold watch here. But that's basically for wind chills as low as 20 to 25 below, and that basically covers the entire area.
Like 2 names for a winter storm.
Wow, it's been years since I dealt with one of these. Yeah, back in Indianapolis, gosh, I remember it was don't even go on the roads. And it's one of those things where they say, you don't want to be caught out in it ahead of the storm, even when there's not snow on the ground, just because the help, and if you have to be stranded in your car for hours, that you don't want to do it in this kind of cold.
Yeah, that's great advice. And look at this. So this is if you're going out tomorrow night, first of all, we're going to start to see readings 5 below, 10 below with the wind chill. By Saturday morning, we're talking anywhere from, say, 15 to 25 below zero wind chill. Wow. So like Alyssa was saying,
tomorrow morning,
if you don't have to go out, do Saturday stuff done today, tomorrow. And if you are going out, just make sure that your car is sort of stocked with everything you need, your cell phone's charged, all that kind of stuff, because you do not want to get kind of caught out with a flat tire or something in this.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing, because you tend to think in your head, okay, the snow's not coming until X to Z, Sunday to Monday, we're forecasting the big snowfall here. But ahead of that, you don't want to also be caught in this again, because it can be really dangerous to have to be out there for even 10 minutes, let alone an extended period of time.
Yeah. So with these kind of readings, frostbite can happen in less than 30 minutes. So needless to say, extremely dangerous cold air. Let's move on to the storm now. And we're just showing you sort of our little local corner of the winter storm watch that again extends 2,000 miles to the west. But there you have it, basically all of southern New England, all of New England, in now currently in a winter storm watch, Sunday and Monday. So here we go. That will be converted. Just so you know, these things are converted to a warning once we get like 24 hours out. So that will happen over the next couple days.
Here we go. There's the big high and low pressure that's bringing A, the moisture, B, the cold air. They clash in the middle. It brings us this massive winter storm. All the pink in the center there, that's going to be a quarter inch to half inch ice accumulations. That's going to cause millions of power.
You're going to get snow too.
And then not to mention the flights and the travel and the headaches with that.
You're going to get, but it looks like a lot.
1 to 2 feet of snow and this widespread area over stretching. I think that sweet spot will be well over 1,000 miles, and then just the 2,000-mile stretch that is included in the heavy snowfall.
Yeah. So, and there it is. It comes into our area during the morning on Sunday, and we're really in it through most of the day Monday, although we'll sort of point out the peak times here in just a second. But, one thing interesting to note is how close the low comes to us. It comes a little bit closer than currently forecast. We could get a little bit of mixing on the south coast and Cape and the Islands. That's sort of a 50-50 shot. But the rest of the area basically is all snow and kind of a light and fluffy snow. I kind of made this just to try to impress upon folks the timeline and just to show like when sort of the peak times are. So again, the snow starts during the morning Sunday, ramps up during the afternoon. So we were saying earlier, if you're going to a Pat's party somewhere at 3 o'clock, it'll be snowing when you get there, but by the time you get home, it'll really have ramped up. The snow is really going to pick up in the afternoon and early evening. So use your best judgment as to how far you want to drive to watch the Pats with your friends.
That's a tough one. It's such a tough one because, and as the statistics back up too, when the Pats are winning, there's snow falling on the ground, and it's tough. It's going to be hard for people to not. They're lucky that the game is not and enjoy this time with friends and family, but also at the same time, the roads are going to be miserable.
Got to be smart. And, oh man, I wish this game was going to be at Foxborough. That would have been insane. But nonetheless, the peak is overnight, say 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. And it will snow most of the day Monday, but we do think it'll be much lighter and a little bit less accumulation going on. So we've kind of been updating this as we go along, our confidence in the amount of snow that we're going to get. I think 3 and 6 inches for almost anyone is a lock at this point. 12 inches, we're certainly feeling, I'm sure there will be 12-inch amounts, whether it will be everywhere or how widespread it will be, we'll figure that in the next few days.
I think this is significant because for a team of meteorologists to say this is a lock, because I think before this, would we have wanted to say, we think there's going to be, but it's tough to say this is going to be, but it will be. So it's an exciting snowstorm because we're saying, this is going to be,
it's coming.
It's on its way.
Yeah. And just 2 days ago, we thought, maybe we could miss. And now just so we know that there's very little, I don't think I've seen a weather model in the last 24, 36 hours that have anything less than a major snowstorm.
Yeah. Nothing convincing.
So as far as the numbers, we'll give you our official map in a second, but just to kind of give you an idea of what we're thinking, the lower limit, so that could happen if, again, there's a little bit of mixing on the south coast. A lot of times with these Arctic air masses, it's really dry, and that can eat away at some of the snow at the beginning. So that's where, if we end up getting a foot or a little bit less, that'd probably be why. Most likely, everyone's going to get
my
a foot
area
or
is
a
going to get
more.
anywhere between
And of course, with the fluff factor being insane, the temperatures being so cold, you never know how quickly it's going to stack up quickly.
I have a ruler.
Yeah, but the cold air in place, that's the part that helps us get to those higher numbers. And the cold air, certainly, as we talked about at the beginning of this, it's going to be there. So that's at least
inches of snow.
You can take that to the bank.
Yes, no doubt about that one. So here's our very simple
I love that.
Snowfall map. Now, again, we're 3 days away. So as we get to tomorrow and into Sunday, we may start to carve out little
like 1 to 2
pieces
feet
of this. But why be complicated about it right now? We just think it's 10 to 20 inches no matter where you go. And as we get a little bit closer, like we said, we'll get some of the high-res models that come in tomorrow. We may be able to fine-tune it a little bit.
Yeah, but at this point, it would be splitting hairs at this point because we want to let everyone know in ample time in advance that it's something to prepare for and think about, especially since we do have an exciting weekend with the Patriots coming up.
Yes, exactly. Those grocery stores are going to be absolutely jam-packed.
I saw something kind of funny. It was like, why do we all go buy bread and milk when we could just be getting wine and chocolate cakes and really preparing maybe some nachos and stuff for the game? Yeah.
So I took the snowfall map and I'm carving out some thoughts here. So that pink area is basically the extreme south coast, Cape and the Islands, and that's where we're going to be watching for some mixing. So this is sort of like everybody's getting 10 to 20, but here's some additional factors to consider over the next 48 hours. So maybe some lower amounts if that happens, maybe some heavier snow if that happens as well. As with most of these storms, there's probably going to be a coastal front that sets up. That's that very typical thing in New England snowstorms. And essentially what happens is as you get those winds off the ocean's milder, 40 degrees or so, it pushes a somewhat milder air back to about I-95. So if that happens, and I think it probably will during the middle of the storm, the temperatures might raise up to maybe upper 20s or so in eastern parts of that area, anywhere east of that front. So for a time, the snow could be a little bit heavier and wetter. Now, anywhere west of that front, which is basically 495, anywhere basically Worcester County, southern New Hampshire, it's just fluff all day. The temperatures will probably be in the teens. So there's no doubt in my mind, it's just it's a major fluff factor.
And on the front end of this it's serious. We're preparing for a major winter storm, and on the back end, there might be some kids at home getting a little excited for some snow time outside, some prime sledding.
Yeah,
the good stuff.
Think about the local ski areas,
man.
Ski Ward, Wachusett, that haven't had anything like this in quite some time. So, all right. So now we want to try to break this accumulation up, like as the storm goes. Like, how much am I going to see on the ground as we go along? So by 3 p.m. Sunday, at maybe the start of the Pats game, most of the area it's snowing lightly, maybe starting moderate. It's about a coating to an inch or two, not much yet. But by the time you leave from the Pats, by 8 o'clock at night, I think it's a widespread 3 to 6 inches on the ground, which is enough to cause a major, traffic.
Yeah. I mean, and just to put it in perspective, this has been kind of on the upper edge of what we've been forecasting for the past couple of years for, good snowstorms. So this is just the beginning of this whole thing.
Yeah. And then by midnight, I think we're easily closing in on a foot. And then there you go, by 7 a.m. The majority of the accumulation, I think, will be over by 7 a.m. Monday. Storm. So what we expect on Monday is several hours of off and on. It may be start and stop, mostly light stuff, but an additional couple inches here and there during the day Monday.
Accumulation between
there you have it. That's how you get to 10 to 20 inches over the
Boston
course of,
area,
24 to 36 hours.
I'm in Connecticut.
So. Oof, and we are
so due.
It's been, I mean,
I'm more inland
too. You were saying this yesterday.
And we're gonna get,
New England's. We've had these storms.
I'm telling you,
people have dealt with this before, but it's been a while. So they're maybe brush up on some of your.
So I just wrote in one of my blogs. There are a number of people that have probably moved to Boston.
I don't know Sunday if it's
like after the winter of 2022, and if that's the case, you're like, Boston winters. This is nothing.
Yes, that's me.
So I think a lot of those folks will be in for a surprise when they can see what Boston truly does. Sort of like a good old days kind of storm here. Good news. This is really just about the snow this time. The wind, it will have a little bit of a gusty wind at the coast during the middle of the storm, but really the chances of any power outages are really low. This is a light, fluffy snow, not very sticky at all. And the coastal flooding is basically not a concern at all. So I think we can sort of rest assured this is not going to be one of those storms where snow is plastered everywhere and the winds are causing tree damage and stuff like that.
That's such a nice highlight. Can we just get the good stuff?
Can we just get the good? Yeah. Here's the winds, by the way. So typically in a major nor'easter, these could be double.
Might be blizzard conditions.
You see gusts 60, 70 miles per hour in a lot of our big nor'easters. 25 to say 35 or 45 over the Cape. Not, it's worth it's an impact. It's worth talking about. But this is really just right at the coast where this is a concern.
She's a crazy bitch.
Someone asked me online about a blizzard and what it takes to cause blizzard conditions. But you need 3 consecutive hours of winds 35 or greater, frequent winds 35 or greater, as well as visibility being less than a quarter mile. So there may be times at the coast where we briefly meet that, but I can't imagine 3 consecutive hours.
Yeah, which is great news. It's great news that we can't hang on to those conditions for too long of an
extended
period of time, especially if people are
all that
testing the waters and trying to see what this whole thing's about outside.
Yeah, and so as we get through the day Monday, the winds, as always with the storm, when it passes by, they turn to the north, they start to weaken a little bit. Again, overall travel, anytime after, say, 5, 6 o'clock on Sunday, it's going to deteriorate really fast. And I'd say right through Monday morning, I don't think there'll be much of a commute Monday morning, but if you are planning on driving to work, just know you're going to leave yourself some real extra time. And again, as the day wears on Monday, we should gradually sort of get better, give the crews time, give them space to clear out. 3-day weather alert. Yeah. There you have it.
Especially if the Pats win on Sunday, it could be a nice little excuse. If you got the snow, you got a Patriots win. It might be.
I got a feeling that's not going to work for us.
Yeah, just maybe call in and say, you know what?
Yeah. We're going to just pass on this snowstorm thing.
We're going to stay home for this.
So bringing that up, we will have the WZ weather team. We got it all planned out. The whole team is going to be here all weekend long at various times. We'll be online. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be on the air. We'll be watching the game while we're giving you updates. But all 4 of us, Alyssa, myself, Jason, Eric, Jacob, will all be here, updating you the whole length of the way.
I mean, we're going to be glued to this forecast. It's an exciting one, but also does have the potential to be dangerous if you're not well prepared. So that's why we're out here talking about it. And we're going to be hopefully staying warm inside the studio while we forecast this thing.
So stay tuned. Alyssa will have an update this evening. And of course, over the next 48 hours, it's really important you stay tuned for any shifts in track or updating that snowfall forecast.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Snow. It's gonna hit us all the way. Like I'm telling you, this play geography. This open up my maps. So if I name your state, you're pretty much fucked. Okay, it's just, I don't want to curse so much, but literally, you're gonna be fucked. Okay, so if I mention your name, you're gonna be screwed. Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, northern Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, northern Mississippi, northwest Alabama, portions of northern Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, southern portions of Indiana, Ohio, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia. Oh, I love geography. I really do. Maryland, Delaware, Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, of course, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. So the order that I started is the order where you're going to get screwed. Okay. So it's going to be a really tough storm. It's going to, it's the ice. There's going to be so much accidents. This is a insurance nightmare and an insurance like prayer answered, because of course these companies, that's how they make their money, off of repairing vehicles, and they upcharge you on your premiums and screw you over in the back end. And the insurance are going to be very busy this weekend into next. So make sure you review your policy. Make sure you are up to date on your insurance, your car insurance, and good luck. Because if you have to go out, please be prepared. Take at least a few bottles of water. I always take about like 3 or 4 bottles of water, a blanket. You could take like, if you have those heat warmers, you know how you squeeze them and they pop, and it's like it's like those hand warmers and those heat warmers. Well, you could get them for your feet. You could get them for your hands. You could get a whole bunch and put them around like your body. Those are very helpful. Just in case you do have to go out and you come into a situation where you get stuck or you get into an accident that is going to take a while for services to come to you. Just make sure you just stay hydrated. Make sure before you go out, use the restroom, and I would say shower too. But and if you do get into an accident, just stay calm, dial 911, and help will come eventually. So be patient, take it slow, no rush this weekend, because when you rush, bad things will happen, and it's not good. Okay, so let's continue on with the show. And who do we have next? Oh, our good friend here, Liberal Hive Mind. Let's watch this and enjoy.
Racket that's supposedly helping Mauritanian migrants fabricate asylum claims, and it goes beyond just fabricated claims. No, it goes all the way to allegedly bribing judges $50,000 a pop per asylum approval. Again, the theme of the year is, how deep does this fraud rabbit hole go? Well, apparently pretty damn deep. Let's go ahead and crawl in, shall we? We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's just go ahead and start off with this expose. Just take a look.
If I can get to the judge, you know, that's the only person you want that is the judge.
Wait, say that again.
If I can get through the judge, it's okay. Sometimes it's some people,
so they'll pay you.
Some places, drink some big places where you don't even drink alcohol, but you're going to some big places.
Right.
The big boys sit down and join. You visit those places.
Right.
Make a conversation with him.
Yeah.
You see. I have this boy there, and that day, you work that day. You say, yeah. You say, okay. $50,000. I send everybody. See all these names?
Yeah.
I have them in my book. I go to the bar like everybody should. Spot the judge. I say, you work on this date? You like, let me see my art calendar. You go in his phone. Yeah. What's your problem? I said, I got all these boys, man. Want to let them back here? Because they're work for me. All right, you better give me 50J, baby. You ain't scared of nothing. How they live? You know they pay a bill just like me.
How does the judge get paid, though?
We have this deadline. We need $50,000. And then the list me look, count them down, calculating. You give me this, you give me this, gotta make the money. 40 man, but $50,000. So everybody got to pay $1,200. Everybody coming here. I'm giving them work permits. Work permits open to everybody. I don't do nothing where I'm going to look behind my back. I'm going to go jail right now. I do legit things.
So when you send the money to, say, the judge, that's legit.
Yes, you has to have a lawyer. We can go to the judge because, you know, that's the one who talk to the judge, is the lawyer. You get the lawyer and you say, okay, we have this sheet of paper. I need you to ask the judge how much to carry these people 3 more years in this country for me to get this project done.
Oh, the judges are corrupted. You have to remove all these judges.
$50,000 to the lawyer.
Yes, $50,000 going to split up.
Look at this.
Everybody. You see this judge right here?
Which one?
And one of these judges, so if you want to talk to none of them, you only want to talk to one judge.
Which one do I want to talk to?
One person. Any one of them just get one judge. All of them talk.
If you would do that with the chief immigration judge in the country, man, you're gangster.
Can't talk to anybody.
And so, yeah, it's basically exactly like we've been
What?
saying. Minnesota is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh.
That was just the easy stuff to find.
There's
That's,
so
you know,
many
the low
corruptions
IQ,
on
low
the
brow
side.
level of fraud that frankly should have never even
Oh,
happened.
country,
If it wasn't for
man.
Tim Walz and these cowardly, complicit Democrats. As I've said a million times,
We live in
it's
hell,
so
man.
much worse than you can imagine. It's
That's
so
so-
much worse than you think it is. And I'm
And I
glad that
feel like
this
I'm
is
gonna be
finally
leaving
coming
here
out
soon.
because I've been sounding the alarm on this immigration fraud issue for a very long time. It's not just the asylum claims. No, I think honestly, I think it's the entire system. I think the entire H-1B system as well is totally predicated on fraud. And that I know is a very controversial issue. It's a big statement, but it's not so far-fetched. I mean, just listen to this clip from Jessica Vaughn.
I think it really helped people to hit home to hear from this consular officer who had actually spent 2 years in southern India, in Chennai, adjudicating these visas. And what she told us was that they knew that there were about 15 consular officers who'd issue about 200 visas a day, H-1B visas a day, and 80 to 90% of them were fraudulent. People faked their credentials, their degrees. They were paying bribes to these consultancies that were run by Indian politicians. They had people stand in for job interviews for them. The whole thing is just a massive fraud on our system. And they knew this. They wrote reports about it. They proved it. And yet their supervisors at the State Department said, no, just keep cranking out those visas because we're under pressure from Indian politicians who, by the way, own some of these businesses and are making money off of it. The employers in the United States are in on it as well. The Indian workers, when they get to the U.S., are paying them bribes.
What's
and
her
it's
name?
all a scheme
Jessica,
set up
okay.
specifically to replace American workers. And we let it happen hundreds of thousands of times every year with new workers. You know, this has been going on
Wow.
for so many years, and government agencies are just telling consular
Wow.
officers just
And there's
keep
no
issuing
jobs.
these visas. It's
And
so
Americans
unfair to
can't get the
Americans.
jobs
It's such a
because
myth
foreigners
that
got
we
it.
need these workers. And the whole, as you said, the thing needs to be shut down.
Immigration fraud is a massive issue
Wow.
that nobody seems to be talking about. And that number of 80 to 90% of these H-1B applicants being totally fraudulent, fake credentials, fake degrees, bribes being paid, I don't think it's so far-fetched. You know, people don't like stereotypes, right? But stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. They're simply pattern recognition. And that obviously applied in the uncovering of the Somali rackets, let's put it. And well, when you think of fraud, when you think of scams, what's the first thing that comes to mind? India, obviously. And well, then you look at the stats, Indian nationals receive the majority of H-1B visas, nearly 73% in fiscal year 2022, making them the largest group of high-skilled beneficiaries, particularly in tech. And people will often say, well, that's because Indians are so talented. They built Silicon Valley. They're so smart and so talented, and there's so many of them, and that's why they're all coming in. And to that I say, no, absolutely no. This is not the case. And it's not to be mean. It's not to be a bigot. It's not to be racist. No, it's because it's simply untrue. The reason they're so overly represented in H-1B visas is because they're scamming the freaking system like you cannot believe. In fact, based on my personal experience, it's almost as if they've taken the entire system over. They're running fraudulent immigration mills. And I know this, again, from personal experience because I have a friend, a family friend, who's a software engineer and works on an H-1B. And at one point, he was in a difficult situation with his H-1B visa. And the only way that he was able to get a job was through one of these Indian mills. I followed throughout the entire process. companies. And I saw firsthand exactly how it works. And what's funny is I was talking about this months ago, and now all of a sudden you're seeing videos like this.
All right, we're heading over to a company called 3B's Technologies. Now, there were actually 27 H-1B visas approved in 2022 through 2025 for this particular company. The jobs include a software developer, software engineer, IT project manager. So I'm thinking like very high-tech hub for 3B's Technologies. Let's see what we find out. Are we sure? Do we have the right address here? This is 27 H-1B visas for this location, and it's a residential home. Okay, 130 Darbon Lane, Irving, Texas, 75039. This is the address that's on here. So would have 27 H-1Bs. Doorbell's broken. Looks like they boarded up the window. Hello? So very strange. 3B's Technologies is at a house, as it turns out, and the Ring doorbell's broken, so I can't even press it. They're probably watching me right now because they've got security cameras all over the place. No one at the door. No sign of life for the 27 H-1B workers at 3B's Technologies.
Where people are starting to catch on to the pattern. They set up these operations at residential addresses, and then they're essentially acting as middlemen for massive corporations. Like the big publicly traded companies are relying on these firms to import all kinds of H-1Bs, and they're working by proxy through these firms for the major corporations on contracts, where of course they could pay them less. They don't have to give them health insurance or any other benefits, and the whole thing is a visa mill. And yes, it's all predicated on fraud. Again, my family friend showed me exactly how this works with his coworkers. You get all these junior talents with no experience that are brought into the country, and then the middleman firm here simply fakes your resume and gets you hired as a senior software developer, as a lead on these projects. We're talking recent university grads on student visas with literally no job experience, having their entire resumes faked, and then boom, they're working for a Fortune 500 company as a team lead. And then you might be asking, well, how do they pull it off? Well, they've got actual people with experience working in these middlemen group that then basically hold their hand for months on end until they can kind of get the job done. But basically, this is how it works. They're hiring hundreds of people per firm and outsourcing that labor to massive publicly traded corporations. They're undermining American workers. The entire thing is a massive racket, and Indian consulting groups are at the core of all of it. There is so much fraud everywhere. Fake asylum claims, fake resumes, fake credentials, H-1B mills. It feels almost as if every single element of the American government has been infiltrated, abused, manipulated, and so much of it is running on fraud. And of course, the American people are blind to it, and the officials are allowing it to happen. Obviously, for two reasons. A lot of this immigration fraud benefits the Democrat Party, and the H-1B scams, that's highly beneficial for the major corporations that don't want to hire Americans. Now, look, obviously, I'm not an investigator. I'm not the DOJ. I'm not going to be able to get all the details and expose the entire racket here, the entire system, but just mark my words. If this administration starts peeling the lid a little bit, if they start really looking into what's happening underneath the surface, I mean, holy friggin' moly, is it going to blow your mind? And like I said earlier, I've been talking about this for a while, and already a lot of the stuff that I've been saying is coming to light here. Well, I guess expect that to continue. It's not just that they've opened the floodgates to replace American workers, it's that the whole thing is predicated on a lie, that Americans don't have the talent, they can't do these jobs, they're not smart enough to get these jobs in tech, and so we need to import all these genius Indians. This notion is complete and utter garbage. It's nonsense. The Indian community is simply committing systemic immigration fraud. And apparently some of them as well, where people are bribing judges to get their status approved. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, Liberal Hive Mind. Wow. The fraud runs deep. It runs really, really deep. Every state has like a major fraud problem, and it's just like I said, it's just like cancer. It's like cancer that is just spreading, and no one had like it under control for so long. It has spread all everywhere. Every portion of this country is just polluted with, it's just white talk, right? It's like white talk. We already know, like, fraud is all over the place. It is, and it continues to happen. It's like oh, but maybe they fixed the problem. Maybe now, after all this time that has passed, maybe some kind of fix has been, maybe, and or maybe the fraud, maybe the states have probably like discovered it. None. Now, one state have come out and say, "Oh, we have a major fraud problem in our state, and we got to handle all this." Like, not one state yet. The only one that's being exposed is Minnesota. At the moment, yeah, they're being exposed, and it's not looking good for them. It's really not looking good for them, and it's I think where it's gonna be like the worst. And we're talking about like really bad. California and New York. California and New York. Now, if I was to pick out a red state, because those are blue states, if I was to pick out a red states that where a lot of fraud is happening, I would say Florida and Ohio. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. All right, let's see what we got here. What is this? Something breaking news. So let's jump to the breaking news. I don't know what it's about. So let's jump to it.
Top stories that we have been following for you is from this post. Bill Malhusian on X from Fox News saying multiple sources tell me and colleague David Spunt that the federal
No, this is not breaking news.
judge in Minnesota who refused to
Is
sign
it?
off on an arrest warrant for Don Lemon is Douglas Micko, and that his wife works as an assistant attorney general in Minnesota.
It is breaking.
AG Keith Ellison's office. So this all comes on really a video that went viral over the weekend of the incident that happened of a storming of a church in Minnesota. A federal judge rejected the Justice Department's initial attempt to bring charges against journalist Don Lemon for appearing alongside protesters who breached a Minnesota church over the weekend there. So there have been multiple arrests already. And I think a lot of people were waiting. Don Lemon's name was going to be added. And so let's now bring in our next guest to help break it down here for a prosecutor. Always great to have you on, Nima. So how does this go about?
Mike, really surprising that federal prosecutors would pursue a case and not even seen it recently with this Department of Justice going to the grand jury and being unable to get an indictment. And here there's a magistrate judge that said there's not enough probable cause to issue an arrest warrant and arrest Don Lemon. Of course, he's a former CNN anchor, now a reporter who was present there. We've all seen the viral videos from this Sunday with protesters disrupting the proceedings. The question is this unlawful? And there's really two different federal statutes that the three individuals who have been arrested are being charged on. The first is deprivation of civil rights, and the civil rights here being the freedom to practice one's religion. You have competing factors. Obviously, the first allows for freedom of speech, which includes the freedom of protest, as well as the freedom of religion. The second act that's being not typically used is called the FACE Act. That's the freedom of access to clinical entrances act. It's typically used for abortion clinics, but it also applies by where they're going to take a very aggressive stance to the extent that they believe that they're engaging in something more than protected activity and speech, and they're obstructing the enforcement of federal law.
Now, Nima, if this incident in a more state or down?
Potentially, yes. And again, this is where the judge matters. But the problem with a case like this is, look, if you're the
We have
Department of
problems
Justice,
with
you
the
don't want to bring
judges.
cases
The
unless
justice
you're going
system
to
is
win.
all
And
fucked.
they've suffered a
All these
series of
judges are
setbacks
corrupt.
recently. When you're a
Every
federal
judge is
prosecutor,
corrupt.
typically, historically, you don't bring a case unless it's bulletproof, it's ironclad. You don't want to be going to court and losing. You're expected to win every time. And I understand the policy reasons why you want to send a message and protect ICE agents who are enforcing federal law. I understand these laws are unpopular, but if you don't like the law, right, your member of Congress change the law. I do believe that ICE has the right to enforce the law, just like the protesters have the right to their voice heard, as long as they're not obstruction who doesn't there's probable respect to one defendant, Mike, that doesn't chance of getting a guilty at trial. Standard prominent civil rights activist, also an attorney. This is not the type of case that's going to plead out. And again, I have concerns about this case because there's some ready-made defenses here. You have the First Amendment, of course, but you also have the argument that there's no criminal activity. There was no force. There was no threats.
They're
there was no
disturbing.
intimidation. There
What
was
do you
no
mean?
unlawful agreement
That makes no
to
sense.
deprive
They went
someone
in
of their
there
civil rights,
barging
which is required
and
for
screaming
conspiracy. So it's going to be a very tough
in a
case
church.
for the DOJ if they do
That makes
intend
zero
to pursue it
sense.
all the way.
He just made
Nima,
zero sense
lastly,
there.
what do you think was the hang up for the there was others to get arrested? What do you think that was?
I think probably one of the big deals, this is a reporter, right? Here's someone who is present, and obviously we know, the First Amendment protects reporters in this country. It's a very strong defense, and when it comes to speech,
How he's going to
we
report
really need to
inside a
separate
church while they're having a
speech,
service,
even if it's
and you're barging
unruly,
in?
from criminal
All these people
conduct.
screaming,
Generally
"Say
needs
her
something
name! Say
more
her
to
name!"
prosecute someone. Now, there are certain
Like it makes
instances where you
him
can make
like
a threat,
it
and
just.
that threat is criminal.
I
But
don't
short of that,
think he
if you are
understands the
disruptive,
severity of
maybe
what's
you can't
going
be
on.
prosecuted for trespassing, but these are very significant
He's never been
charges
through
here. The
something like
civil
this
rights
before,
charges carry
so he can't really
potential
talk
10-year sentence in federal prison. The
about this.
FACE Act, if there's violence, carries a potential 11-year sentence in federal prison. So a judge is probably
Yeah,
looking
I
at
don't
this
think
saying,
there
hey,
was
here's someone
violence,
who's a reporter.
but there
Here's
was
someone who's
disruption.
disagreeing with ICE, which is his American Constitution. I
Why are
have
you
a
going to do it inside
concern
a
with
church?
this case being prosecuted when there's a
And it
very
was
strong
pre-planned,
defense. I don't think there's enough
so
probable
it's not like something they did
cause, and that's the judge's
spontaneous
role
and they
as a
just went in there.
gatekeeper.
No, they pre-planned and went
Yeah,
in.
it's going to be something really to look here as this case does involve others.
They're lucky
Nima, we
that they
appreciate
didn't
it.
have a prisoner there that had a weapon and would have shot their asses, and then you would have had a bigger case, But how are you going to barge into a church and start protesting in the middle of the church? And no, nothing's going to happen to them. There's no accountability. That's the fucking problem. There's like the justice system is nothing, means shit right now. Because all those judges, in my eyes, they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt in some way. They're corrupt. They're not fair and balanced. That how the justice system, how they put the blind and it's like levels. So you have to it's balanced, it's fair and balanced, that bitch don't even have no blinds on. That bitch is like this. She's looking at everything. Like there's no fair and balance in our judge system. Like in our judicial system, our courts are kangaroo courts. For the mighty dollar, they'll do anything. These judges, it's despicable, man. I can't wait for my time when I die and I move on, and y'all motherfuckers could stay here because this is hell. You guys are living in hell, and it's not gonna get better. I'm letting you know right now, it ain't gonna get better. So I'm looking forward to my journey, my next journey. Oh, more breaking news. Let's see what the hell is going on here. More breaking news. We got breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Let's see what this is about here. Let's put the sound on it. Yeah. What's going on here?
Everybody good? Yeah.
All right, hold on.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Carroll, the interim chief of police for the Metropolitan Police Department. I want to give you an update regarding the incident that occurred here approximately 4:50 p.m. this evening. This afternoon, approximately 4:50, you can see there's a bus behind me. There was an incident that occurred on a bus here in the area of 16th and Missouri. The preliminary information that we do have is there was some sort of argument or dispute on the bus. The bus stopped there. The individuals that were involved in the argument then kind of engaged into some sort of fight that came off the bus into the sidewalks. We know at that time gunshots rang out into the area there. At this point, we have 5 individuals that were struck by gunfire. All those individuals that were struck have non-life-threatening injuries. A suspect did flee from the area here. At this time, we're looking for any additional information that we may have. So we know when this incident did occur, there were lots of individuals that were on the bus. There were also some individuals that were in the bus stop area. So if there's anyone in the public who may have been here or may have information related to this incident or the suspect's involvement, we would ask that they contact their real-time crime center at 202-727-9099. Chief, with that, I'll open up have you looked at the surveillance video on the bus? So one of the things we are looking at is the surveillance video on the bus. Our preliminary information is that there is no video from the bus. So that's why we are looking for other options of video.
And Chief, how does this make you feel? I mean, here you have young people, they're on a bus.
I mean, obviously, anytime we have gunfire individuals that are hurt here to say, it's a terrible situation. This is very, I'd say, unique in the fact that it stems from a kind of an interpersonal dispute on a bus that still is off there. But obviously, it's very concerning here in the community.
And what do you say to the person who opened fire if he's watching this?
The person who opened fire, I don't know why you would take, this is not the way we resolve disputes. If there's any sort of conflict, obviously, we work things out. We don't pull up gunfire, and that's the issue we have.
So,
too many illegal firearms here.
Did anybody die?
Working through this, and that's why it's so important that the community that they do have the information back to
at least 5 victims.
Chief, you said 5 individuals. Are they all juveniles?
No, they're not all juveniles. So right now we have 2 juveniles that were struck and 3 adults that were struck. We don't believe everyone that was struck was involved in the actual fight that occurred. There were some people that were just there that appear to be, unintended targets with that.
And you're
oh my God!
Suspect right now.
Yes, the information we have this time is 1 suspect.
1 suspect at large. Do we have video from the bus?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So are those people are they related or do they know each other?
Obviously, we're not really sure what the relationship is.
Do we have video from the bus?
On the bus, so we don't know if
I should be a fucking reporter. I should be a reporter.
That actually originated on the bus that spilled over, so that's really unknown at this time.
Is only one person fired their gun?
Yeah. So the information we have, there's one suspect that discharged the firearm.
Oh my God.
We don't have that information. There's multiple shell casings. We don't have the exact.
Are you working on the video from the bus?
Sciences, they're on scene here. They'll process all that, so we get all that.
And when can we get the footage?
And all non-life-threatening injuries?
Yes, all non-life-threatening injuries.
Just 2 more guys. Yeah. Did the bus driver do the right thing in stopping the shooting? You said happened after the bus stopped.
Yeah. So when the dispute came out, the bus driver did stop, trying to resolve the situation with the individuals off the bus, and that's when things kind of erupted from there.
Oh my God!
Chief, just clarify that the time of the call was.
There has to be video.
I'm sorry, yeah, the time of the call was actually at 5:40 this evening.
5:40?
Right.
Oh shit! It only happened like 3 hours ago.
All right, their interim police chief there.
Yo, your reporters suck in fucking DC.
That there were at least
your reporters are garbage.
Injured as a result of this incident. We now know 2 juveniles.
They don't even know how to ask
3 adults,
proper questions.
5 injuries total.
Did one person have a gun?
Military Road and 16th Street.
Like, what the fucking
Those familiar
stupid
with the area,
question
and
was
as
that?
alluded to, 5:40 local time.
Oh
the
Lord!
Incident took place. Drivers being asked to seek an alternate route, follow any directions provided by police, stay away from the area as this investigation.
Hey, listen. It's a crazy world. We never learn. We stuck in the same bullshit. That's why I said we stuck in the sand trap. It's all a sand trap. We're stuck in a fucking sand trap. And are we ever gonna get out of it? No, not in our lifetimes. It's gonna take a good long while. Several generations. For some reason, 7 came up in my head. It's gonna take about 7 generations that they're gonna come back and review my videos and be like, wow, this gentleman was speaking a lot of truth during his days, but nobody was listening but one. That's crazy. But at least one was listening. And like I always say, knowing is half the battle. Let's see what we got here. I don't know what this is about. Let me do a little housekeeping here. And okay, let's watch.
1 year ago this week, President Trump signed an executive order signaling his intention for the U.S. to leave the World Health Organization. Today marks the withdrawal date outlined in that order, but the split is complicated. There are two requirements for countries to leave the organization. The first is giving 1 year's advance notice, which President Trump did. The other is a little trickier, a requirement for the leaving country to pay all of the dues it owes the WHO. The U.S. currently owes at least $260 million for 2024 through 2025. And in a statement to Reuters today, a State Department spokesperson said U.S. officials have no intention of paying those. The WHO, who has yet to officially acknowledge the U.S. insists that member states will have to determine the country's status of the organization going forward. Dr. Judd Walson joins me now. He's an infectious disease physician and epidemiologist who works to improve child survival, growth, and development in low and middle-income settings.
Our own
Dr.
system here that's much better than the
Would
WHO.
a U.S. withdrawal from the World Health Organization be unprecedented?
We should
And what would the
withdraw
effect
from
be
NATO
for global
too.
disease monitoring?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. No, this is not unprecedented. So after World War II, both the United Nations and the World Health Organization were established, and those harbored in an era of unprecedented peace around the world and allowed us to, through these multilateral organizations such as the WHO, really help control the spread of disease and help countries to prioritize and address health concerns all around the world. In 1949, shortly after they were established, the USSR at the time and several other Eastern Bloc countries left and withdrew from the WHO. And at that time, the US actually took a step forward and became a very dominant force within the organization, which remained until last year when we signaled our withdrawal. And as part of those efforts, we were able to be at the table for a lot of very important discussions about prioritizing health around the world. Those countries, USSR and other countries, reinitiated their involvement with the WHO 7 years after they left. And since that time, there certainly have been many, many other ups and downs with our relationship as the US with WHO, at times where our contributions have gone up and down and there's been disagreements, but this withdrawal for the U.S. is unprecedented, and I think it really is something new and concerning for all of us.
Which areas of the WHO would be specifically impacted?
All areas of the WHO will be impacted. So part of that is because of the financial commitments. The United States was a major contributor to the World Health Organization, and as the WHO has tried to address this, two important phenomena have happened. One is they've had to downsize considerably, meaning that there are less resources available to support countries around the world with technical assistance. There's less resources for data monitoring for potential threats such as pandemics, emerging disease threats. There's less resources for helping to support supply chains. All of those direct impacts of the financial
it's a fraud organization, man. They only take money from the United States.
And there are many other impacts as well.
As much as the United States
as countries no longer have access to support their health systems, we are starting to see them disintegrate. Coupled
take our money
with
like
some
that.
of the
Crazy?
other harms that have been incurred.
We're cutting
because
the
of
fraud.
Collapse of USAID and
We're
other
getting rid of
foreign
the fraud.
aid, are having lasting and real impacts right
And there's
now.
world
I'm
fraud,
currently speaking to you
and
from
there's
Kenya and
homeland
across
fraud.
Africa.
We got a
we are
lot of
seeing
fraud
those
everywhere.
impacts in very real terms right now. There's an
I'm telling
estimated
you, we
over
live in hell.
750,000 excess deaths that will
We
occur
live
this
in
year because
hell.
of these changes, most of those in children.
Well, Dr. Judd Walson, we appreciate you joining us on an important topic, particularly at this late hour where you are. Thank you.
All these demons and heathens are controlling the narrative. It's crazy. Let's keep it moving.
3 people shot, 2 fatally, in what police are calling an apparent murder-suicide.
What?
Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles joining us live from the scene in the Riverdale section with the latest developments. Darla.
David, this is a tragic story unfolding here in the Bronx where police say a 59-year-old man
shot and killed his 55-year-old sister and critically injured his 86-year-old mother. I want to show you a live look of how the investigation is unfolding here on Johnson Avenue. This is a massive co-op building, a very
wounded his mom and killed himself.
in this
What?
area, the Winston Churchill, and that investigation is taking place.
The police
on the
believe man
first
killed
floor where
himself
the
and
shooting
sister
happened.
and wounded
Now, let me
mom.
just show you some video how this has been unfolding for the last 4 hours. A 911 call came in
What
at
the
9:57 a.m. Investigators say a doorman heard one
In the
shot,
Bronx again.
called 911 and walked around the hall.
Yo,
That
what's
is
going
where
on in the
a man was
Bronx?
discovered in the hallway with a firearm recovered right next to him on the ground in the hallway. Then detectives now say they believe he fatally shot his sister in the bedroom and critically injured the mother, who was found in another room on the ground floor of the apartment. Investigators have not yet released the names of those who were shot and killed and the 86-year-old woman injured, but the 55-year-old woman who lived here was well known in the building.
Oh my God.
She was a wonderful, full of life person.
Oh
She
my
loved
God.
to dance. She worked for the state of New York, and she was just about to retire. Although
What?
I don't think she was even 50. Just a wonderful neighbor and wonderful
Oh
friend.
my God.
Full of life. And the whole thing is a terrible shock.
Oh Lord. I think he
Again,
meant
this
to kill the
investigation
mother.
unfolding here.
He
The
didn't kill her.
86-year-old woman was found shot in the face. She was taken to Harlem Hospital, is in critical but stable condition at this moment. Again, the names of the individuals involved in this horrible, tragic murder-suicide not yet released. The investigation ongoing. Reporting live in the Riverdale section of the Bronx, Darla Miles, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
I like her headpiece that she had there. It was so cute with the pink and the fluffy. That was so cute. And she was pretty too, so she got a double plus. There you go. I like the little fluffy thing she had. It was like nice and pink. It was so cute. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's see what else we got here. We got a good little lineup. So let's watch.
Lockup's in there. We'll bring her in. She'll stand off to the side. I know this.
What the fuck is this? Damn, she's heavy. Yo, that's a big one. Oh my God. Yo, Ozempic. You got a customer right here. That's why the police is taking, we gotta give this girl some, or she, I don't know if it's a guy or not. Be female. At this point, who knows?
You are a fake pastor. You are a fake Christian.
Look. Oh, this is the church. Look.
David Easterwood is the director for the field office of ICE in St. Paul. He also served as a pastor right here at City's Church.
What is going on here?
Renee Good. Renee Good. Renee Good.
Oh, this is Don Lemon's video?
How can you be a pastor?
Look at him. He is there. Look at Don Lemon right there.
But overseeing ICE agents in the field. We know that ICE agents just killed Renee Good.
Right, her feet.
We know that
That's
they
Don
shot
Lemon.
a Venezuelan nationalist. We know that they almost killed a 6-month-old baby in North Minneapolis.
That part.
As well as terrorized their whole family of 6. Had to send 3 of their children to the hospital, 2 of which had asthma, as they fired tear gas and flashbang grenades at the cars of innocent people. We know that they dragged people out of their cars, out of their homes. They dragged pregnant women.
Black Lives
They
Matter
beat
shit.
and attacked immigrants and U.S. citizens. So how
crazy.
dare somebody claim to be a pastor
That's why they arrested
while
her ass.
overseeing evil? Absolutely not.
I think they arrested her too.
Absolutely not. Now you guys heard that pastor pray. Dear Lord,
This
please
is her.
chasten us to get our house in order. That was the
That is
perfect
crazy.
prayer for such a time as this.
You don't do that, man.
That's what we
That's
came to do.
disrespectful.
Get your house
And they
in
think that
order.
they're right. That's the
Don't pretend
problem.
to be a church.
They do
while
wrong,
harboring
and then they
evil.
think that they're right.
Unacceptable. And
it is unacceptable. They lucky if I wasn't there. I was there and my life was in danger, I would have shot him. I was like, Renee Good, how about whoever named that is going to get shot up in here? Because look at it. She's right in the middle, look. And she's doing the protest. Right in the middle of the service. That's crazy, man. Yo, that is not good. And that's why they're being charged what they're being charged with.
This can't happen. This is the house of the Lord. To do this is unjust.
Wow. Yo, they need to be like having an exorcism with these people. This is ice out. You see, she's right in the middle. She's antagonizing the thing. Look at all these people. Why are they doing this in a church? Like, oh, because the director works for or whatever, right? Who cares? These people are horrible. Oh, I hope your picture like Black Lives Matter.
That's why they're mad. Find a better term.
You have a field day.
Did not wear a tie.
The black
Put
church
them all in jail
brother.
and threw them all.
Your pastor's an ICE agent. Come join the black church, man. It's good.
That's
where you belong.
An ICE agent. Join whatever. Stupid. How many people could have been there? Like 30 people? You see how they're projecting it so big, but it's not. It's a group. It's these radicals, and they think they're right. They do wrong, but then they thinking they're doing the right thing. Like, if you don't correct it, it's like a dog. If the dog keeps making a mistake, and if you don't correct it, that dog's gonna continue doing the same shit. And you're gonna have to fucking put that dog in his place. And that's what we're trying to do now. We're gonna start putting these people in their place. Serve them subpoenas, arrest warrants, straight to jail. And not just regular jail, federal jail. Fucking people, man. It's just so fucking ridiculous, man. It's every day. I'm telling you, we live in hell. Prove me fucking wrong. Prove me fucking wrong that we're not living in hell. Prove it. Because we're all praying to go to heaven. This is not heaven if we're praying to go to somewhere that's heaven. We're in hell. We live in hell. And we've been sentenced here. And we have a certain amount of time that we're going to live here. And we're going to move on. We'll go back to frequency. Oh, man. Come on. I don't have to, educate you guys on that shit. We living in hell.
Tonight, the Columbia Heights School District says 4 of their students have been detained by ICE agents over the past few weeks. That includes this 5-year-old boy, Liam Ramos, who school officials say was taken into custody with his father on his way home from school yesterday. Gordon Severson joins us now with more details. Gordon?
Yeah, this all happened as Liam and his father were driving home from preschool. According to Columbia Heights superintendent, she says ICE agents detained Liam and his father, and the family's lawyer says they are likely being held at a detention facility in Texas. School leaders are now speaking out because they say Liam is the 4th student in the district who has been detained by ICE over the last 2 weeks. Inside Valley View Elementary in Columbia Heights, there's a preschool classroom filled with 4- and 5-year-olds who may soon wonder what happened to one of their classmates, Liam Ramos.
He's a bright young student, and he's so kind.
Ella Sullivan is Liam's preschool teacher. She says her students haven't asked about Liam yet, but they will. And she and other teachers wonder how they can possibly answer their questions.
All I want is for him to be safe and back here.
The family's lawyer says Liam is likely being held with his father at a detention facility in Texas.
We have clients that once they're picked up, they're whisked away to the airport literally within hours.
School officials say Liam is one of 4 students who have been detained by ICE agents over the last 2 weeks, including another student who was also detained on Tuesday.
On the way to school, a 17-year-old high school student, a minor, was taken by armed, masked agents.
17 is
no parents were present.
Superintendent Zina Stenvik says the other 2 students include another 17-year-old and her mother, who were detained by ICE last week, and a 10-year-old girl who was also detained with her mother on their way to school 2 weeks ago.
And by the end of the school day, they were already in a detention center in Texas, and they are still there.
He's terrified.
Pastor Sergio Amezcua is also working with Liam's family. He says many in the Latino community are deeply concerned about children being taken by federal agents.
Let child protection services take care of them while the
You know how many
battle the
children
legal
will run into
battle.
this
Amezcua says many in the community are now afraid to leave their
without their
homes.
parents
His
that are
church
in
has
this
now
country
received food delivery
are
requests from more than
like
27,000 families
abused.
who are scared to go to the grocery store.
ICE
We don't
agents
even
have been
know
roaming
what's
our
going
neighborhoods,
on. You
circling
know how
our
many
schools,
kids
following
in
our
this country?
buses, coming
And
into
the
our
government
parking
doesn't
lots
even
and
know
taking our
about?
children. And our hearts
Come on,
are
man.
shattered.
Don't give me this boohoo.
When it
about
comes
these
to Liam and his
kids
family,
to
their
go back
lawyer
to their
says they have
parents.
been following the law as they are seeking asylum to become legal U.S. citizens.
lot of
Their
kids
lawyer is
they
now working to
smuggle
find a
into
way
this
to bring
country.
Liam back home to Columbia Heights so he can stay with his remaining family members and go back to school.
Gordon, do we have any idea why that they were targeted or why the other students were targeted? Do we know anything about, was it legal status? Was it criminal history?
Well, the school district did say that one of the other students was detained 2 weeks
There's
ago
more
and
to
is
this
still in
story.
Texas. But other than that,
Giving you
they
half
don't have
that
any other
story.
information about their legal
The
status
media
or why
sucks
they may have
at
been
reporting.
targeted by federal agents.
All right, Gordon, thank you.
They suck at reporting. I guarantee you there's another side to the story, and it's like they just fed us the bullshit. Who was that? What company was that again? Hold on. Who's this news?
Status or why
Who is this? KRE11? And I wonder, they're out of, I think they're out of Texas. I think this channel is out of Texas. Because I think this is the Dallas background. So, okay. That's a first for me. That was such a weird. Okay, let's watch what's next here. JD Vance. Oh, he's in Minneapolis. Let's listen into our vice president. This one is going to be like 22 minutes long. The back-to-back is going to be pretty long. This one is 22. The next one's about 13 and so forth. But this is going to be the longest one. So let's listen into our vice president speak.
How your administration is conducting this immigration crackdown here in Minnesota right now.
Well, I'm proud of the fact that we're standing behind law enforcement, and I'm proud of the fact that we're enforcing the country's laws. But, you know, you asked a question about this 5-year-old kid. I actually saw this terrible story while I was coming to Minneapolis. We just left Toledo, Ohio this morning for an economic messaging event. And I see this story, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old, actually, a 5-year-old little boy. And I think to myself, oh, my God, this is terrible. How did we arrest a 5-year-old? Well, I do a little bit more follow-up research. And what I find is that the 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien. And then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran.
Yo, Rob,
So
what's
the
up?
story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America? If the argument is that you can't arrest people who have violated our laws because they have children, then every single parent is going to be completely given immunity from ever being the subject of law enforcement. That doesn't make any sense. No one thinks that makes any sense. Now, you know, there are so many of these cases like that where if you just understand the context, there have been a number of situations that I've looked into personally where I say, wait a second, We don't want ICE arresting American citizens. They're supposed to be enforcing the immigration laws against illegal aliens. So then I look into
yeah,
it
I
and
just
I find
covered
out
that
the
story
American
too.
citizen
That
who was
Lemonhead.
arrested took a swing at
He's a
an ICE
Lemonhead.
officer. You can't have that happen.
He's
And of course they have to defend
no
themselves.
accountability,
and of course
man.
they have the right to detain somebody who assaults a law enforcement officer. Now, this is my point. Do we want these things to happen? Do we want these arrests to be so chaotic? No, we don't.
Sorry, I'll take the point.
No, that's fine. I'll take both.
After the Renee Good shooting, sir.
Yeah, no, it should be charged with treason.
After the Renee Good shooting, the administration seemed to suggest that ICE officers enjoyed near complete immunity. But today you told the Washington Examiner that when appropriate, the
A lot of
administration
judges.
might take disciplinary actions against ICE agents. So is that a change in opinion? And if so, why the change in tone?
No, I didn't say, and I don't think any other official within the Trump administration said that officers who engaged in wrongdoing would enjoy immunity. That's absurd. What I did say is that when federal law enforcement officers violate the law, that is typically something that federal officials would look into. We don't want these guys to have kangaroo courts. We want them to actually have real due process, real investigation, because again, sometimes they're accused of wrongdoing, and it turns out when you learn the context, they didn't actually do anything wrong. But of course, we're going to investigate these things. Of course, we're investigating the Renee Good shooting, but we're investigating them in a way that respects people's rights and then ensures that if somebody did something wrong, yes, they're going to face disciplinary action, but we're not going to judge them in the court of public opinion. I've spoken at length on this particular case. I think that Renee Good's death is a tragedy. I also think that she rammed an ICE officer with her car. So the tragedy here is multi-layered. The tragedy is there was a misunderstanding. The tragedy is that Renee Good lost her life. The tragedy is that you have ICE officers who are going into communities where they're worried that if they call 911, no one's going to come to help them. That is what produces this terrible situation, and it's something state and local officials here in Minnesota could solve. Yes, sir.
It's a message towards March for Life tomorrow, especially regarding the cooperation and family values. It's a shame that kids have to get caught up in all this, and towards that, sir.
Well,
yeah, because he's protected. You know,
this. I am speaking at March for Life tomorrow.
Lemonhead is
I'm
protected.
very excited to speak there. I want to talk about local law enforcement, but he
has his umbrella on him. Like he's untouchable.
As a child, I saw
He
people in
better
my
get
family
his
get arrested.
ready
It's terrible.
because he's gonna be clapping them in jail.
Heartbreaking. It's chaotic. It's traumatic for the kids. I can recognize that, and I can recognize that we got to support these kids. While on the other hand, saying that just because you're a parent doesn't mean that you get complete immunity from law enforcement. And I think we have to hold both of those thoughts in our head at the same time. We've got to be sympathetic to the kids who are caught up in some of these enforcement actions. We've also got to say we have to enforce the law without bias, with fairness, but we've got to enforce the law.
Mr. Vice President.
There was a class in college a few weeks ago, and their mayor said they haven't heard about ICE staying in the city, and how does ICE proactively work with local agencies?
You said there was an altercation in St. Cloud. Yeah.
After the incident, the mayor said that ICE did not communicate with them they were in the city for immediate operations, but police chief did not know about the operation at the time. Can you talk a little bit about proactive communication?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the takeaways. I've talked with these guys before we came on the stage, but during our roundtable and some of the other conversations we've had, communication, we absolutely want to ensure there's good communication between federal officials and state and local officials. And I'm sure that we can do better on that. We absolutely want to make sure that we are communicating, but that also requires a two-way street. And that's the point that I make about state and local officials. These guys will absolutely communicate with state and local officials. They'll tell people if they have to do an enforcement operation in a particular municipality. But part of that is they also want to make sure that if
she doesn't
about
like
whereabouts,
prosecute the Lemonhead
against them.
and throw his ass in federal prison,
and then they find out that their agents' faces are on the on
really
Reddit or on
soft,
some social
man.
media thread saying,
Like, none of her
"Here's this
cases
guy.
have
We
been
know he's going to be
sticky.
at this place at this
Like,
exact time."
none.
So
Like,
that communication has
what's
got to be a two-way street. These guys are going to communicate with business
other
leaders,
cases
with
have been
local
like,
officials,
ugh.
with state officials. But we also need the local
Do a
officials
better
and state
job.
officials to do a good job.
I know Trump loves her and all this and that,
they're in
but
their communities. We're not asking, by the way, we don't want any police officer
I don't know.
in this community, in this state, to help us do immigration enforcement. We've got that. But if a protester shows up and that protester turns violent against our immigration officers, we really, really need the cooperation of our local partners. We haven't gotten it yet, but I think if we do, we really can lower the temperature. Yeah. Yeah, so I saw that story, and the story is like so much that I read in the mainstream media. It's missing a whole lot of context, and when you appreciate the context, it makes sense. No one is saying, I mean, look, there are exceptions. For example, a crazy exception, if somebody is fired at from inside a house, they don't need a warrant to go inside that person's house. There are very narrow exceptions to the warrant requirement where law enforcement officers don't need a warrant if, for example, they're an imminent threat of their lives. But what we've said and what ICE has proposed, what the Department of Homeland Security really has proposed in the Department of Justice, is that we can get administrative warrants to enforce administrative immigration law. Now, it's possible, I guess, that the courts will say no, and of course, if the courts say no, we would follow that law. But nobody's talking about doing immigration enforcement without a warrant. We're talking about different types of warrants that exist in our system.
I think I'm gonna have to have
What
knee
happens,
surgery,
not
man.
always, but typically in the immigration system, those are handled by administrative law
I'm
judges.
gonna have to have
So
knee
we're talking
surgery.
about getting warrants from those administrative
Man,
law
that
judges.
sucks.
And then, of course, with other cases, you get judges or you get
I have
warrants
problems
from a
with my
judge.
knee, man.
That's very
I
consistent
left
with the
knee.
practice of American law. I'm sure the courts will weigh in on that, but we're never going to enter somebody's
Damn,
house
that was a sharp
without
pain in
some
my
kind
knee.
of a warrant, unless, of course, somebody's firing on an officer or they
Gonna
have to
have
do
to have
something in
surgery.
order to protect themselves.
I want to go to Florida. But if I have surgery now, I don't know if I'll be ready.
Well, our understanding is that you can enforce the immigration laws of the country under an administrative order if you have an administrative warrant. That's what we think. That's our understanding of the law. That's our best faith attempt to understand the law. Again, this is something courts will weigh in on. I won't speak to that. But yes, most immigration law in our country is not done through the criminal system with the judge. It's done through the administrative law system. We're going to continue that practice just as they did in the Biden administration or any other administration.
Was there anything that you heard or saw today that would cause you to the president to invoke the Insurrection Act? And then also, did you meet or talk to the ICE agent who was involved in the neighborhood incident?
I did not talk to him today. I talked to some of his colleagues. Your question on the Insurrection Act is interesting. I've tried to understand this as well as I possibly could. And my understanding is what the Insurrection Act, what invoking the Insurrection Act would allow the federal government to do is that it would allow the federal government to use the military for local law enforcement operations. Right now, we don't think that we need that. Now, the president could change his mind. Of course, things could get worse. But right now, we think that federal law enforcement officers can do the job of federal law enforcement. Now, what I do worry about, again, is if the chaos gets worse, if more and more ICE agents start getting assaulted, if other law enforcement officers start getting assaulted, that would be a real problem. But again, we have so much federal law enforcement resources here right now. We have so many people here that we do not want to have here. I do not want so many ICE officers in Minneapolis right now.
I think
Lord,
Al
it's
Sharpton is in New
freaking
York
cold
with
outside.
the
But
nurse
they're here
protesters.
not even to enforce immigration laws,
I
but
believe.
to protect the people from the rioters.
I don't know
That's
where
an
the fuck Al
absurd state of
Sharpton is.
affairs, and we
Put
wouldn't
a
need it
GPS up
if we
his
had a
ass.
little bit
We'll
more
find out where he's at.
cooperation from the Minneapolis Police Department. Again, the Minneapolis Police Department, my understanding is that the actual beat cops on the ground, they would love to help out, but they're being told by somebody, I don't know if it's Mayor Frey, they're being told by somebody not to cooperate at all. What kind of a person tells their local police don't protect somebody if they're being assaulted by a rioter? It's crazy, and it's got to stop. Yes.
Earlier this week, local law enforcement accused federal agents of racial profiling. Why are there so many U.S. citizens being caught up in this operation?
Well, I think your question assumes something that's not necessarily in evidence, which is that when there are American citizens who have been caught up in some of these enforcement operations, very often it is people who have assaulted a law enforcement officer. They're not being arrested because they violated the immigration laws. They're being arrested because they punched a federal law enforcement officer. That is a totally reasonable thing. Now, to the accusation of racial profiling, look, it's something that we take very seriously. We will take profiling to Washington. We'll certainly look into them as they come up. But this is not a group that's going around and looking for people who violated the law based on skin color. They're looking for people who violated the actual law, the law of our immigration system in this country. And so long as we had more cooperation, I think they could do these things in a much more targeted way. They would actually know where some of the bad guys are. I mean, again, you hear things that are hard to believe, but I've confirmed that they are true. Sex offenders who we're trying to get off the streets, who the local officials won't tell us their last known address. So then the local officials say, oh my God, these guys are doing widespread targeted enforcement operations when in which one house to go to.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Vice President, to that question, the local police chiefs have said their own off-duty officers, so police officers, are being targeted because they are a person of color and asked to show their papers. Is that a concern of the administration?
Everybody show their papers.
Security, if local law enforcement says their own officers.
If they come and question me, I'm going to tell them, listen, motherfucker, I was born in Miami.
So
What
I saw
hospital?
one story about
I'll
this.
tell you when I
one
fucking
local
tell you.
police
I'm
officer
not
who
going to
said
say it here,
this. And
but
look,
yeah,
certainly is it a
I was born in Jackson.
concern? Absolutely. The first thing we have to
Memorial
figure out is whether it
Hospital,
happened
Miami.
or not. And then if it happened, whether there is a good
Yeah.
explanation or a bad explanation. And of course,
That's all,
if
you
somebody
know?
violated the law, if somebody racially profiled, if somebody
But it'd be
violated
like,
the rights of one of our fellow citizens, that is something we will take very seriously. What I also would say
You're gonna take
is
your
that
ass.
many of the most viral stories of the past couple of weeks have turned out to be, at best, partially true. So we want to try people based on reality, based on the truth, based on context. We're not going to prejudge people just because a viral
The
social
white
media
ones are
story
getting
that turned out to
shot,
be
right?
half false.
Where's the White Lives Matter dude burning down the cities?
That happened. Did you invite anybody with an opposing point of view to get an idea of why people are upset here? It's just as a quick follow-up. Have you reached out to Governor Walz at all in an attempt to turn down the temp?
So I haven't talked to Governor Walz on this particular trip. A number of members of our administration, I believe our chief of staff, spoke to the governor and has been in constant contact with his staff over the past week. We've been in my office in constant contact with people here on the ground in Minneapolis. There were certainly people at our roundtable with opposing views, and look, I don't even know, whether it's public, but yes, we met with people with opposing views here at the roundtable. I wanted to get a perspective from everybody, but also, of course, offer my opinion that with a little bit more cooperation, we could lower the chaos. We're going to keep on doing that. If Governor Walz wants to call me, we'll absolutely continue talking. I will say that my sense of this situation, having talked to these guys for a long time, is
And he's
this
the vice
is primarily
president.
a law enforcement issue. This
So,
is the attorney general. This is
better
the
listen up.
local mayor. This is all of the organs of local and state law enforcement. That's who we focus on, but we've certainly been in communication with the governor and his office as well.
Vice President.
Yeah.
So local law enforcement obviously has been really helping out with the agents who've been assaulted repeatedly. What's the plan if nothing changes there here locally and this operation has attracted thousands of agents?
You know the funny part? Like, no illegals have been
Well,
shot
right now
and
we're focused on
killed,
Minneapolis
but
because that's where
the
we have
ones
the
that are
highest
blocking
concentration
ICE
of people who
and
have violated our
disrupting
immigration laws.
are
And that's
like
also, frankly, where we see the
dying
most
by
assault of our
gunshots.
law enforcement officers.
How the
And
hell
our
that
plan
shit's
is very
happening?
simple. If you assault a federal law enforcement officer,
White
we're going to do
people
everything that we
blocking,
can to
getting
put you in
shot and
prison.
killed.
It's very simple. And most of these
What a
protesters,
horrible story.
as much as I may disagree with their politics, most of them have been peaceful, but a lot of them have not been peaceful. And if you go and storm a church, if you go and assault a federal law enforcement officer, we're going to try very hard. We're going to use every resource of the federal government to put you in prison. Respect people's rights. Respect people's rights to worship. Respect people's rights to do their job without being assaulted. If you follow that basic principle, the Trump administration is going to do everything that we can to protect your rights. But if you go after somebody, if you assault somebody, if you make a 9-year-old girl cry because you walked into her church and harassed her, we're going to go after you with every single tool that we have.
Vice President.
Yeah.
That's with NBC News, sir. Your administration has said repeatedly this is about safety, about making Americans feel safe.
Move that microphone, motherfucker.
It's the overwhelming presence of ICE officers and federal officers and their tactics that are making them feel less safe.
Well, one thing I would say is, first of all, we saw in 2025 the biggest one-year drop in murders in the history of the United States of America. Significant reductions in violent crime. The reason why we have less violent crime is really two reasons. Number one, because we're enforcing the immigration laws and getting very violent criminals out of our country. And number two, because we're enforcing our criminal laws and putting guys who assault and murder behind bars. This is part of a broad effort to make us safe. And the chaos that people are seeing, and I understand there is frustration of the chaos, I'd say that we're doing everything that we can to lower the temperature, and we would like federal and local, state and local officials to meet us halfway. So
Perceiving it correctly. Are you saying that they're not seeing that it's the tactics or the presence of the officers that are...
Look, I'm sure that people are seeing a lot of things that would make any member of our national community feel very upset. But I also think that if you understand this in context, this is the inevitable consequence of a state and local government that have decided that they're not going to cooperate with immigration enforcement at all. In fact, they're going to aggressively not cooperate. So here's a basic illustration of this. If you are an ICE officer and you have to arrest a person who's committed assault and is also an illegal alien, but the state and local officials won't help you identify that person, many of the things that people in Minneapolis are seeing that give them pause, that frustrate them, that worry them, that make them feel like things are too chaotic, many of these things are coming from the fact that there's no cooperation with state and local law enforcement. And I guess what I would tell people, again, many of whom are justifiably concerned and worried about what they're seeing in their communities, is why are we not seeing it anywhere else? We're seeing this level of chaos only in Minneapolis. LA and Chicago, we had some problems there. Pretty much every jurisdiction where these guys are operating, you don't see the same level of chaos. You don't see the same level of violence. You don't see the problems that we're seeing in Minneapolis. Maybe the problem is unique to Minneapolis, and we believe that it is. And it's the lack of cooperation between state and local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. Sure.
MyMindoverYourMatter, CNN. ICE has been operating here for years with less pushback than we're seeing right now. And I just wonder, with this Operation Metro Search, is part of it to misstand the state of Minnesota? And I know you talked about you've been in touch with the governor's offices and the mayor's offices, but why have you not been able to speak to them directly? Have they not been willing to do so?
Well, look, I have spoken to some of the people in Minnesota, some of them today. I've spoken to others in the past. And again, our staff has been in very direct contact with pretty much every official with any influence or any power in Minneapolis. But no, we're not trying to send a political message. We're trying to enforce the law. And unfortunately, what has happened is that as we've enforced the law, there's been this weird reality in America. There's been a very Minneapolis-specific law enforcement of federal immigration laws. What I'm trying to do is understand why that is. What is it about Minneapolis that has become so chaotic? What are the specific types of cooperation that we need? Look, I don't need Tim Walz or Jacob Frey or anybody else to come out and say that they agree with J.D. Vance on immigration. I just need that. What I do need them to do is empower their local officials to help our local or help our federal targeted. Like, if we're trying to find tell us where the guy lives. Simple things like that, simple changes in how they're approaching immigration enforcement would make this work a lot better. It would make Minneapolis' streets a lot safer, and it would make this whole thing a lot less traumatic for this community.
You said that it's time to turn down the temperature. Does that include changes? Both ICE and CBP tactics that we've seen employed on the street, including less than lethal tactics.
There.
Sentences to ICE officials, and you can see that there is some cooperation with the state.
Yeah, look, if I was going to list the 5 agencies locally and statewide that I'm most worried about, I wouldn't put the Department of Corrections on that list. I think that while there are certain things we'd like to see more from them, they've hardly been the worst offenders. You agree with that, guys? That's fair. That's a fair assessment. But I think when you talked about tactics and you talked about the response to things, look, we don't want to employ tactics that we don't employ the kind of tactics that are only necessary when violence is committed against officers. That is these guys' directive, and that's what we're going to try to do. And again, the president said this a couple of days ago. Whenever you have a law enforcement operation, even if 99.99% of the guys do everything perfectly, you're going to have people that make mistakes. That is the nature of law enforcement. What I do think that we can do is, working with state and local officials, we can make the worst moments of chaos much less common. And all they've got to do is meet us halfway. These guys want to communicate with them. They want to talk to the local business leaders. Many of these guys, many of the people standing behind me are members of the Minneapolis community. Many of the officials that I met today who work in federal immigration enforcement, this is their home. They love this place. These are their neighbors. They want this to work a lot more smoothly. I think that we can get there. We just got to work at it a little bit, and we need some cooperation from state and local officials. Last thing that I'll say is I just hope they give it. This is a beautiful city. I've only been here a few times. I love it. Even in this weather, I love Minneapolis. We could do a lot better. We could do a lot more with more cooperation. The Trump administration, the directive that I got from the President of the United States is meet these guys halfway. Work with them so that we can make these immigration enforcement operations successful without endangering our ICE officers, and so that we can turn down the chaos a little bit, at least. I think a lot, actually. But for us to do that, we need some help from the state and local officials. We will keep on working with them. And so long as they're willing to work with us, they will always find a partner in public safety and law enforcement in the Trump administration. Thank you all.
All right. Well, all they're asking is for cooperation to work together to get these really bad individuals that they know, the United States know who is in this country illegally, because they were in jails in other countries, and they already know from those countries because they gave the list of the individuals they released. Come on, but these Democrats, man, they don't like to listen. They always think they're right. They'll fight to the death. They'll carry the whole situation until oblivion, and we just gotta survive, right? I feel like we're I think we're in Survivor. Are we part of Survivor? Is this a new surviving game? I know we went through Hunger Games and Survivor. Is this a combination of both Hunger Games / Survivor? I just feel like we're in that type of world right now. We're in a weird situation that we're in right now. It's not a good situation, that's for damn sure. All right, so I guess I got a rebuttal here. I got this. Ready to watch this? Oh man, grab your popcorn, grab your favorite drink. If you smoke, enjoy your smoke. I'm gonna light this one up because this is just more fireworks are gonna pop up. Let me light this up because this next story, this next segment is only gonna piss us off. I'm giving you a warning. I'm being nice about this. You're gonna get mad, and it's okay. I'm gonna get mad too. So I'm gonna try not to interrupt the person from speaking so much. I'm gonna try my best. Here we go. Oh my God. This fucking idiot. Let's listen to this fucking idiot. Fucking Jacob Fry. Ugh. He blasts JD Vance over ICE operations that are going down in Minnesota. So let's listen in to this clown.
Good afternoon. So it sounds like JD Vance is taking a whole lot of my talking point, but not all of them. He said, quote, come out and protest, but peacefully. That sounds exactly like what I've been saying since the very first moments following the shooting of Renee Good. Protest peacefully.
He didn't say come protest in front of ICE while they're doing their operation.
Donald Trump with our own
dummy.
brand of chaos here. And so to the
This
extent he's
guy is such agreement. Listen to this guy.
We want to enforce the laws on one
need to
hand
check
while
his
on
hearing.
the other making sure people in Minneapolis are able to go about their day. It sounds a lot to me like he wants to be mayor of the city, only he's only been here for 2 hours, whereas
He's the fucking vice president of the United States.
Working
you
through
shit.
these issues and this chaos for the last
This guy's a
several
fucking
weeks.
idiot.
Peace is not
Yeah, read
spraying
your little piece of
irritants
paper.
and chemicals at peaceful protesters. It's not detaining a 5-year-old. It's not dragging a pregnant woman through the streets. You achieve peace by working directly with communities. You lower
All right,
crime
I gotta step up
by
for a second.
strategically
Listen
going
to this
after people
garbage.
that have
I'll be-
committed it. The vice president said he would love to be able to send some of these agents home. There's no disagreement there. We've been encouraging that for weeks. You heard me say it 2 weeks ago, and I've been saying it every single day since. If you're looking for an antidote to many of the issues that we have faced over the last several weeks, there's a very easy answer. And it's for this huge influx of federal agents, ICE and Border Control, to go home. And finally, he said if we had a little cooperation, we'd be able to keep streets safe. Once again, we agree. We have extensively worked with federal agencies under both Democratic and Republican administrations. We've worked with the DEA and the FBI. We've worked with the ATF and the U.S. Attorney's Office to successfully drive down crime in Minneapolis. And we've done so by strategically focusing on people that have actually committed serious and violent crimes. So what's changed? What's changed is the response that we're seeing. What's changed is that we have 3,000 plus ICE agents and border control that are on our streets without a clear plan. What's changed is we've got this huge influx of what feels like an occupation in a city in the upper Midwest. And what's changed is that they are arresting United States citizens. They are detaining people that have done nothing wrong. They're going after people exclusively based on the fact that they look like they're Somali or they look like they are Latino, and no reason beyond that. They've stopped law enforcement officers that are off duty. They've stopped fathers that are on their way just to drop off their kids. There are incredible people in our city that have come from a variety of different places around the country.
Did you guys grab your
and around the globe.
tissues?
And they've
I
made our
forgot
city
to
a
ask
better
you guys.
place. They're part of our family. We love them.
What,
We're
to drive-
passaging challenge here.
I
and
know
it's
this guy is having
predominantly
a hard
because
time.
anybody can see with their own two
He's
eyes
such a
what's going on.
gaslighter, right?
You can't say with a straight face that pulling citizens
an
off the
idiot.
street or going into a school is a targeted action.
You know his
when
wife
clearly
is in
it's
really
not.
deep trouble for the
Clearly,
fraud
what we are seeing
that's
on
going
our
on in
streets right
Minnesota.
now is discriminating
And
only
you know it has
on
a
the
lot of
basis
ties
of race
to this idiot.
and largely
That
indiscriminate
he's
thereafter.
under a microscope
So
right
yeah,
now.
in Minneapolis, we want to solve crime.
He's going to end up in federal
We
prison.
want to arrest murderers.
Right here. that
Let's
you're
do
looking
it.
at
Let's
right now.
work together to
I guarantee you're
drive
gonna see
down
a
crime.
mugshot.
Again, this
We
is
will
not
see a
that.
mugshot of this individual.
We have had relationships with a number
He's
of
going to have
federal
that little sad
administrations
face, like a
to
little Pee Wee
successfully
Herman looking
drive
face.
down crime.
Because that's what he looks like.
What
He
we
looks
are
like
seeing
Pee Wee
is this
Herman
is
to me.
more about
And I love
political
Pee Wee.
retaliation.
But this guy
This
looks
is
like
more
the
about
evil version of Pee Wee.
tragically terrorizing people.
He's like the
than
Superman.
it is
with
about
the S,
safety than
the
it is
S
even
for
about
Thomas.
immigration. So the job of law enforcement is to keep the peace, to keep Americans safe, and that is literally
Oh, Rob, that's funny.
what I signed up to do,
Part of
and what the
two
federal
boys.
government signed up to do as well, and I urge that they do exactly that. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Literally and figuratively. I think the whole Democratic Party is that infected, man.
Earlier today, Vice President Vance, had said that you're not being cooperative. You had implied that there could be some order to prevent local police from responding to federal agents. Can you comment on that? Has any local official told police not to support agents?
What Vice President J.D. Vance is saying is he's rhetorically asking what makes Minneapolis different. What makes Minneapolis different is that we have an influx of 3,000 federal agents on our street, and we're not the size of New York City or Los Angeles. What makes us different is we're seeing constitutional violations play out in real time. What makes us different is, yes, we do have residents that are beautifully standing up, supporting their neighbors, providing food, escorting them to their jobs, recording some of the unconstitutional acts that are taking place to make sure that some sunlight is added as a disinfectant to some of the chaos that is being caused. And to your question, we have a separation ordinance, which is widely publicized as nothing new. We had one well before this operation started taking place. And that separation ordinance says that our police officers and public officials do not work with any federal agency around immigration enforcement work specifically. We do work with federal agencies to catch murderers. And so if they want to catch murderers, that's what we're for. And it doesn't matter if they're from Minneapolis, Chicago, Venezuela, Germany. It doesn't matter where the murderer is from. We're getting them because they're a murderer, not based on where they grew up. That's the way this should have worked in America. What our separation ordinance also says, and I say this to everybody throughout the city, is that we will not ask the question in Minneapolis as to whether a person is documented or not. Why? Because when you call 911, we want everybody to know that our first and primary concern is not your papers, but it's your safety. That's what we are focused on. Now, our police officers respond to any instance where they can help keep people safe. We have responded. We have arrested people. You've seen it. You can report it. Where safety has been compromised, our officers have stepped in to help. But I'll tell you exactly what I want our officers doing. We have 600 of them. They got limited time. I want them focusing their energies on investigating crime, on keeping people safe, on preventing carjackings and homicides. I don't want them spending time hunting down a guy, a dad, who has done nothing wrong, who just dropped his kids off at daycare, who's about to go work a 12-hour shift. That guy makes our city a better place.
Mayor, your reaction to J.D. Vance saying that the military is not needed here in the state?
Yeah, totally. So my reaction to J.D. Vance saying that the military is not needed in our state, yeah, wildly agree.
Mayor, what would improved communication with federal authorities look like to you?
Well, so the question is, what would improved communication with federal authorities look like to me? Give me a call. You know, if J.D. Vance can reach out.
Give me a call.
We didn't get an invite.
Give me a call.
Maybe unsurprisingly to hang out
when you landed
while he was in town.
I wanted to see the plane land.
We have done a whole lot of work through a number of different channels, including the channel of email, to seek an audience to try to figure out how we can stop this from happening and how we can keep our city safe. Again, I want to be really clear here. There is a route forward if we're all willing to see it. If their goal is to keep Minneapolis safe from criminals that are doing bad things, we agree. Regardless of where those criminals are from, we want to make sure that they are held accountable and that we're able to keep our city safe. And so there's broad agreement around that. You know, for all these other people, though, that have done nothing wrong, that are these wonderful members of our community, why not a path to citizenship for them? That makes all the sense in the world to me.
Mayor, what do you make of the vice president meeting with Republican state lawmakers and neither you or the governor?
So the question was, what do I make of the Vice President Vance meeting with Republican lawmakers, but not me nor the governor? I mean, the question that I have is, again, is this political performance that is taking place in our city that is compromising our safety? Or is this trying to achieve an end goal that is improving safety in Minneapolis? Is this political performance? Is this partisan politics? Is this
fucking idiot,
loving your ideology more than you love your country? Or is this trying to get something done for the sake of the American people and for the sake of the people of Minneapolis? I appreciate
he admires himself.
The vice president said a couple nice things about the beautiful city that we have. I agree. We have one. It's incredible. I'm so inspired by the people here in our city.
I wonder if he paints in his cheeks.
And look,
to
we
make
got to find every possible way right now.
Like a little clown.
As
he kind of
said,
reminds
as
me of
he
the
said,
clown
to end
what's that
this
movie?
large-scale deployment and send these agents home.
You know the movie.
Is there any room for compromise?
Saw?
The city and ICE?
He looks like the little clown from Saw.
The question was, is there room for compromise? You know, look, I'll work with anybody that is willing to work in good faith with me.
This guy's a fucking idiot. You're going to prison, dude. You guys are for fraud. You guys are.
Yeah. So I want to comment on Nikema Levy Armstrong's arrest.
I don't even know why he has business being in front of a camera or in front of a microphone for that.
I'll
do one more and then I'm going to get going.
Vice President Vance said if there's cooperation between state and local officials, these many ICE agents would not be needed to carry out enforcement operations. What's your response to that? Is that something you're open to, that open line of communication to get these thousands of ICE agents out of the city?
Well, you don't need to. So the question is the room for cooperation between the federal government and the state or in the city. You don't need to take my word for it. You can see it in the numbers coming straight out of corrections, which is a state agency, in the way that they have worked together. You don't need to take my word for it. You can see it in the numbers where we've successfully driven down shootings on the north side to a record low by working with federal agents in the U.S. Attorney's Office and our police officers that are, by the way, working tirelessly to arrest perpetrators of violent crime. So look, we have done that. But again, I need to be really clear. That is not this. If this were about getting murderers, we would be able to do that. The number one question that we ask when we're trying to get a murderer is, are you a murderer? Is this a murderer? Not, where are you from? Where are you from is not the point here. The point is there a crime, a violent crime that has been committed? And of course, we've partnered extensively on that front. And so, again, let's just be really clear. Let's be really straightforward. I deeply appreciate all the work that the press has done just to uncover the facts and the truth so that we're not like talking by one another. I'm grateful to all of you, and thank you so much.
I don't know. This world is fucking so weird. I feel like it's just a weird world. What the fuck am I like? This guy just loves listening to himself, and he paints his cheeks in. You can tell he puts a little blush, a little bit, to make those cheeks stand out. And he does his little curl, his little super salami curl, because he dresses up for like Halloween. He does dress up like a Superman, and he has his little S on his chest. And it's the salami, for his salami people. That's why he's Salami Man. And he's just a skeezer. That's what he is. He's an opportunistic fraudster. His wife is in deep shit for fraud. Feeding America, feeding the kids. Yeah, feeding shit yourselves. Y'all was stealing the money and banking it on yourselves. The deep corruption. I think everything else is just gaslight. Everything that's happening in Minnesota is all a bunch of gaslighting because they don't want to go for the real kill, and that's the fraud. And it runs deep in the government. The judges, the lawyers, the politicians, all of them are all fucking corrupt. The whole system is fucking corrupt. Now, how are you going to fix a whole fucking state that every single person is fucking corrupt? That's going to be hard. Now, let's go ahead into the next video here. And, it's a special. Tyson De La Cruz. Let's watch.
What do you think happened here?
They raised money for nonprofits on the backs of 18 people who were murdered.
America, 18 people were in the Lewiston mass shooting. The country donated $6.6 million to help their families. Donors were told 100% would go to the victims and survivors, but $1.9 million was secretly diverted to 29 Somalian nonprofits run by people that decided who got the money.
It didn't really hit me until I was in a position with a $93,000 hospital bill that I couldn't cover.
This isn't just about stealing from shooting victims. This is industrial scale public corruption that's now linked to the multi-billion-dollar Somalia fraud ring in Minnesota.
Gateway Community Services, again, was paid money by the Department of Health and Human Services to be able to pay us for today. And again, we are not being paid today.
And here's the kicker. A Lewiston City Council member resigned after everything got exposed. Meanwhile, former Gateway employee sits on Maine's Appropriation Committee, overseeing the very Medicaid spending her old boss was accused of stealing. What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. The Little Mogadishu store raid is the latest development of what has become an industrial scale investigation into public corruption and the betrayal of the Lewiston mass shooting victims. Let me walk you through the most disgusting part of this story. After the Lewiston mass shooting in October 2023, the Maine Committee Foundation raised $6.6 million from donors across the country who wanted to help families of these 18 people who were murdered. The foundation told everybody, explicitly told donors, that 100% of the money would go to the survivors and the family members. That's what people thought that they were donating to help victims.
Raised money for nonprofits on the backs of 18 people who were murdered, 13 people who were shot. They used that to raise money for nonprofits.
But here's what actually happened. $1.9 million was diverted into, get this, 29 different nonprofits under something called Broad Recovery Fund. And get this, at least 9 of those nonprofits were immigrant focused, and at least 7 were Somalia linked organizations. So donors thought that they were helping shooting victims, but their money actually went to Somalia nonprofits, some of which are now under investigation for fraud. And the Maine Community Foundation didn't tell anybody about this until a year later, when Amy Sussman, the aunt of a victim, started asking questions.
I called a bunch of them. The first one was permanently closed. And then I went down the list. I only found maybe 3, 4, possibly 5 that were helpful. The rest did not help the survivors and family members.
Out of all the organizations she contacted, maybe 3 to 5 of them actually helped survivors and families. The rest, they took the money and did absolutely nothing for the victims. Meanwhile, Jennifer Zaka, who was shot twice in the Lewiston massacre, received $32,000 from a victim fund. Each nonprofit received $65,000. So the organization got twice as much as a woman who was shot and left with a $93,000 hospital bill. Now let's talk about Gateway Community Services, one of the Somalia nonprofits that's centered around this entire fraud network. Maine's Department of Health and Human Services didn't just find one problem with Gateway. They found a pattern of fraud spanning, get this, nearly a decade across 3 separate audits. Audit cycles 1 and 2 from 2015 to 2018 found $662,000 plus in overpayments to Gateway for services they either didn't provide or weren't eligible to bill for. Audit cycle 3 from 2021 to 2022 found an additional $1.06 million in fraudulent billing, bringing the total to over $1.7 million stolen from Maine's Medicaid program.
We are scrambling. We all have families to take care of.
Friday morning, a handful of furloughed Gateway Community Service employees confronted their workplace looking for answers.
Gateway Community Services, again, was paid money by the Department of Health and Human Services to be able to pay us for today. And again, we are not being paid today.
And here's how this scam worked. Former employees allege Gateway used an electronic monitoring system to falsify staff movements. The system would look like the employees were visiting clients and providing services when they were actually miles away. They were billing Medicaid for services that never happened.
The Department of Health and Human Services has stopped payments to Gateway Community Services. This after a third audit has been released showing overpayments of more than $1 million.
In December 2025, Maine Department of Health and Human Services finally suspended all the payments to Gateway. And when that happened, the employees, many of whom who had no idea
a lot of money,
suddenly weren't getting paid. Over 30 employees were placed on furlough, told to apply for unemployment, and left wondering what the heck happened. And here's what makes this even more corrupt. House Oversight Chairman James Comer has officially linked Gateway to the multi-billion-dollar Somalia fraud investigation in Minnesota. The Feeding Our Future scandal, where fraudsters stole over $250 million meant to feed hungry children. Hello?
Look at me. Look at me. I'm the captain now.
What? Speaking of fraud, when we're talking about Somalia fraud network stealing $1.7 million from Medicaid and $2 million from shooting victims.
This
We're
isn't
talking about
funny.
identity theft and data broker exploitation scale. These fraud operations don't just steal
Tyson's
your money.
looking funny.
They steal
That's funny.
personal information, your name, your address, your social security number, your medical records, and it's all being sold on the dark web to criminals who use it to commit fraud, just like what we're seeing in Maine. That is why I use Aura, today's video sponsor. Aura protects your privacy
so
by
we're gonna move
identifying
it
these data
forward from
brokers, selling
Aura.
your information, and automatically
So
removing
go
them
ahead and
from
move
days
forward.
at aura.com/.
Hold on. Here we go.
Vulnerable, and you should neither. Now let's talk about the Lewiston City Council member who resigned less than 24 hours after the investigation exposed this connection to victim fraud scandals.
Lewiston City Council member Iman Osman,
Put in my
who is a
medicine.
Somali refugee, is stepping down. News Nation has learned his nonprofit was one of dozens that received some of that money raised for these shooting victims.
Iman Osman, a Somalian refugee who was just sworn in as city council member, ran a nonprofit called the Lewiston Arbor Youth Network that received $65,000 from the Shooting Victim Fund. But when investigators started digging, they found some very interesting details about this nonprofit.
He ran for city council here using an address that is a condemned chicken restaurant. I went there and looked inside earlier. This is his nonprofit received the $65,000 from the Lewiston Victims Fund.
First, Usman ran for city council using the address that is a condemned chicken restaurant, not an active business, not a residential address, a condemned chicken restaurant, a condemned building that you can't legally occupy. Second, Usman is facing felony gun charges. You cannot make this up. So this guy has pending felony charges, runs a nonprofit out of a condemned chicken restaurant building, receives $65,000 from the Shooting Victim Fund, and somehow gets elected to city council. Guys, if you want to get caught up on the full Maine fraud situation, there's a complete playlist. I'll place it somewhere on the link on the screen. Click it, check it out after you watch this video. And when the media started asking questions, Usman, he resigned immediately. No explanation, no defense, just gone like the wind, because he knew something was coming. On Friday, January 16th, 2026, Lewiston Police and the Department of Agriculture executed a search warrant at Little Mogadishu store. This raid is part of a $4.5 million fraud investigation that's now connecting all these pieces together.
Warrant in hand, Lewiston Police searching a Somali-owned business on Lisbon Street. We're told the search at the Little Mogadishu store is part of a lengthy fraud investigation.
Witnesses reported seeing blacked out sedans outside the business as agents entered.
The owner tells me police took the computer where people pay with their credit cards, and she says customers will now have to pay in cash for the time being.
Of course, as damage control, the mayor has to remind everybody that people are innocent until proven guilty. But here's what we know. This raid is part of a lengthier and broader investigation into fraud. And it's happening at the same time as this Gateway investigation, the victim fraud scandal, and the city council member resigning. The Little Mogadishu store raid is just the latest development in what has become an industrial scale investigation into public corruption and betrayal of the Lewiston mass shooting victims. Now here's where it gets absolutely insane. State Representative Diak Dalak, a Democrat who used to work as an executive assistant director for, get this, Gateway Community Services, now sits on Maine's Appropriation Committee.
That someone who has served on an organization that has committed that kind of fraud, that the Maine people deserve better sitting on the Appropriations Committee.
Think about that. A woman who worked for a nonprofit that stole $1.7 million from Medicaid now sits on a committee that oversees Medicaid spending. House Majority Leader Billy Bob Fulkenham and Republican lawmakers are demanding her particular removal, but Democrats obviously are defending her. They say the audits already happened, funds were recouped, and there's accountability. But the House Oversight Chairman James Comer has requested suspicious activity reports from the Treasury Department regarding both Abdullah Ali, Gateway's CEO, and Diak Dalak. This is now a federal investigation with national security implications because it's linked to the Minnesota Fraud Network.
In Minnesota, they're stealing from the taxpayers.
Wow.
In Maine, they're stealing from the taxpayers and victims of a massacre.
America, what
That's
we're
crazy.
witnessing in Maine is a complete betrayal of mass shooting victims by a Somalia nonprofit network that's stealing from everyone: Medicaid, victim funds, federal programs, while Democrats obviously protect them. $1.9 million stolen from families of 18 murdered people. $1.7 million stolen from Medicaid across 3 audits. A city council member with a felony gun charge running a nonprofit out of a condemned chicken restaurant. The Little Mogadishu raid is part of a $4.5 million fraud investigation. A former Gateway employee sitting on the committee that oversees the Medicaid spending her old boss stole from. This is an isolated fraud. This, my friends, is industrial scale public corruption linked to the multi-billion-dollar Somalia fraud network in Minnesota. The grave robbers thought that they could steal from shooting victims and get away with it. They were wrong. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you for that upload of pointing out the mafia, Minnesota mafia moved to Maine, closer to fucking me. It went from fucking Rob to fucking Rick, and now they're over fucking here, and we need them to get them the fuck out of here. So Trump, activate your fucking ICE agents and come here to New England, come into Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Those motherfuckers in Maine, we got to get them out. If we don't get them out, they multiply like gremlins. And trust me, they are gremlins. So with that said, we're going to show the last video of the night. And I reserved this one for the first time for someone that I haven't put at the end. And that's Melody King. So Melody King, the honor to end our show for tonight, and it's about the weather because it's gonna get a little bit crazy out here. So let's watch this, and we'll be wrapping it up.
They're quietly admitting it now. A once-in-a-lifetime storm is about to hit half the U.S., and it could turn catastrophic. Okay, so this is going to be coming from Matt Randolph, and he's a renowned energy expert and Forbes energy contributor. And he breaks down a forecast that was dismissed all week until every major.
We're supposed to get like almost 2 feet of snow.
Let's take a listen to this.
We're getting 2 feet.
I've been waiting to talk about the storm that's coming this weekend because I didn't want to freak people out. And a lot of these forecasts never pan out, but this one is panning out, it looks like. Yeah, everyone's in agreement now that the crazy forecast is actually happening.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of those storms you probably remember for much of your life. Basically, the whole, more than the eastern half of the United States is going to be below freezing. Most of that below zero.
Like,
they're calling for, foot
like 18 to 20 inches.
Foot and a half of snow all through here, all the way to the mid-Atlantic, and 3 inches of ice in this pink band right here.
Oof.
3 inches of ice is unbelievably catastrophic. That is worse than what Texas experienced in 2021.
Power.
There's going to be loss of life.
Power
Anywhere
line.
there's 3 inches of ice, there's no power. There's not going to be a power line that's not on the ground when there's 3 inches of ice. And emergency services aren't going to be able to reach you because there's 3 inches of ice on the road. That's what's going to happen if this forecast is correct.
Oh,
the
my
grid's
God.
going to fail. Refineries are going to shut
believe?
down. Water systems are going to shut
Before we
down.
continue listening to the talk here, let's bring it back to me. What I believe was going on is we're in weather wars. We're in weather wars, and we're fighting back and forth. And you saw what happened in Russia just a few days ago, where they got a system that dumped 7 to 12, maybe some areas higher, up to 18 feet of snow. I didn't mix words. 18 feet. 18 motherfucking feet. That's crazy. That's like three of me and a half. tall, and all that wind drifting all over the place. You have piles of snow that were actually as tall as like buildings. If you have not seen that, go look it up in YouTube. There's plenty of videos, and you guys can see what happened over there. I think this is like an attack of weather. And not only that, but the sun has been acting up really, really strongly. We had a solar flare that we were able to see northern lights up here again. How many times we get to see the northern lights up in the northeast? It's been what, 2 times in the last less than 12 months. It was like 3 times that like big CME X flare comes at us. That manipulates the weather. This system that just went through California, they had to send hurricane hunters into it to get readings off of it. I've never in my life, this is the first time ever, and I cover the weather a lot. First time ever in my life I ever heard of them sending hurricane hunters into a system that's coming in through California. First time ever. And the first time of hearing a hurricane hunter going into the Gulf of America to get readings of what's going on there too. That's never happened before. And this is going to be like the perfect storm, the perfect merge of very cold winds and moisture. And it's going to get together and bundle up. And there's going to be an area in the middle that's going to get 3 inches of ice. Let that set that 3 inches of ice. No power. Power lines are going to come down. Trees are going to be falling onto houses. This is a natural disaster that is going to unfold, and people are very complicit, and they're not preparing themselves for what's going to come. There's going to be this is going to be I'm going to cover it, but this is going to be like the story of the week next week. Where I'm at, we're going to get 2 feet of snow. Hopefully 2 feet, but damn, 20 inches is pretty close to fucking 2 feet. We're only missing it by 4 inches. And we might get those 4 inches and make it official 2 feet. That's a lot. This is once, not, I wouldn't say once in a lifetime, but this is a very memorable event that's going to take place, especially along the whole like East Coast, and not only East Coast, but like the states that I mentioned earlier. You know, starting from Arkansas and going down to Oklahoma, Texas, you know, Missouri. This is going to hurt northern Louisiana. Like Shreveport is like, I know someone that lives in Shreveport, and I hope they're ready for what's coming with the ice. There's so many areas that this is gonna paralyze Tennessee. It's gonna paralyze some parts of Kentucky, southern Kentucky. Virginia, you're fucked. If you live in Virginia, you're fucked. Okay. Western Virginia also. You know, even the Northern Carolinas, the Carolinas. You guys are gonna get a lot of ice. This is maybe the storm of the century. Maybe this could be the storm of this century. I mean, for the benchmark, this could be the benchmark storm. And it's gonna happen in a few days. And I'm outside taking pictures. I'm gonna like take all the pictures, like the before pictures, and then go back and take the after pictures. That's just sick. It's gonna be an event that I'm gonna cover here, and it's gonna be dangerous. I have not experienced something 2 feet of snow in one No. In 2012, when we had like a lot of snowfall, we had like over like 30, 40 something inches, or like 30 something inches, but that was like back to back to back to back storms. Not in one storm. We're getting 2 feet in one storm. Look at this. I'm getting a close up. 2 feet. 2 feet in one storm. Okay. Back up. Getting too close. But this is going to be a storm of the century. For at least for us, like it feels like it. I'm feeling the energy, and and a lot of people are not getting prepared. A lot of people are just like, yeah, they're just talking, and they'll probably get some goodies and stuff. But no, fill up on all your medications. Make sure your car is full of gas. Make sure you have emergency supplies inside your car and in your home. Make sure you have a case of water in your car. Make sure you have thermal blankets in case you do get caught up in a snowbank and they can't find you and you're like stuck in your car. At least you can survive. Make sure you take like a urinal jug if you have one, so that way you could piss in it. Shit, that's a different story because you're gonna have to shit in your car. Just make sure you have plenty of paper towels and so you can wipe your ass. But other than that, this is going to be a storm of the century, and it looks very dangerous. I'm very concerned about it. So let's continue on with Melody King here.
Could knock out a couple of LNG terminals if it goes far enough south on the Gulf Coast. This is going to be a disaster if this forecast is even close to accurate. I mean, a major disaster. Huge natural disaster across pretty much all the southern states. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you live in the pink area, you should plan to be without power for at least a week, maybe a month. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you need to prepare for it because it wouldn't be the first time it happened, okay? This is that. People went without power for a month in Texas in 2021. This is a repeat of that. For you folks in the upper Midwest, where it's going to be like 30 below, take the largest electric bill you've ever had in your life and add, 25% to that or more. Yeah. But more importantly, just be prepared. Thanks.
So this is wild. This is going to be happening. I am in this area. We are trying to figure out and prepare. I'll be doing that, a lot of that tonight. I have some things already, but if you are not paying attention, almost the entire country is going to be hit by this. This is after we have seen unprecedented flooding that was all on the West Coast. That was during December. Washington was flooding. California was flooding. We saw historic earthquakes. Earthquakes have been going on all around the country, all around the world, really. We're seeing unprecedented seismic activity. And this is even after, which I'll show you in a second, if you haven't seen it already, the unprecedented snow in Russia. That is insane. But let's get more into this.
We're about to experience 3 types of extreme weather that could all be historic on their own. The massive winter storm will create a crippling ice storm that will stretch from New Mexico to the mid-Atlantic, covering roads, trees, and power lines with an inch or more of ice. That's a devastating amount that will leave millions without power. To the north, up to a foot of snow will pile up from Oklahoma to the East Coast. Some places will get more snow than they've seen in years, including major cities in the Northeast. But it's the Arctic cold that might turn this storm into a deadly disaster that could last for days. More than half of all Americans will experience sub-zero wind chills in the next week, a nightmare scenario for the millions that could be without power. And it will also lock in the snow and ice into place and extend the misery for days.
Several days ago, I told you a major winter storm was coming. Since then, the models have converged, the warnings have expanded, and even the National Weather Service is using the word historic. We now have over 200 million people in 35 states in the path of this storm. This thing's going to be 2,000 miles wide, and states like Texas and North Carolina are already declaring states of emergencies. And now even the Northeast is in play. Remember that north shift I talked about yesterday? It's holding. The I-95 corridor from DC to New York City is now in the significant snow zone. Some models are showing a foot or more from Virginia to Connecticut. If that holds, this is going to be the biggest snowstorm in a long time for this corridor. But the ice threat is still the main danger.
I'll try to do my show.
Carolinas, there's going to be widespread half-inch to three-quarter-inch icing. And in some places, we're going to see more than an inch of ice accretion. That's tree snapping, power line destroying accumulation. And if you lose power on Saturday, it's possible that you're going to be without power during some of the coldest temperatures we've seen in a long time. If you haven't finished your prep, today is your last day. Airlines are already waiving rebooking fees. If you're flying this weekend, change your plans now. If you're in the ice zone, assume you're going to lose power, plan for all that, and stay off the roads on Saturday especially. This is going to be the most significant winter storm in years, so like and follow for more updates as it develops.
So I want to just play, I'm just playing a couple of videos just to give you guys an idea of what's going on. Then I'm going to play a couple of videos to show you of how to prep. Now, I plan tomorrow to bring you more of that, but this is very serious, guys. If you have not prepared, you need to prepare right now. Okay, you need to make sure you prepare, get a generator, do whatever you have to do, because what is about to take place, we don't know. Wherever you're living at, if you are anywhere in the quarter, whether it's the snow or ice, these are going to be this is a very dangerous storm, and it is historic. When they start saying things like historic, you have to pay attention.
If you live anywhere in this part of the United States, you are about to experience a historic winter storm. The most intense Arctic blast of the season is about to meet with rich moisture, which will create a very powerful winter storm, which will lead to major impacts from Texas to the East Coast Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And here's the biggest problem. This winter storm will be very slow moving, which means heavy snow and ice will accumulate fast, leading to potentially historic amounts. Models are showing the potential for over a foot of snow deep into the southern United States, including Oklahoma City, Little Rock, and Memphis, setting the stage for major travel problems that could last for days. A scenario that almost always leads to widespread power outages and long-lasting infrastructure damage. This is very concerning, as temperatures are forecasted to stay below freezing beginning Friday and Saturday and won't be above freezing again until at least Monday or Tuesday. That means any ice or snow that accumulates might not melt for at least 3 days. This is going to be a very chaotic winter storm. So make sure you're following me here and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Max Velocity, for the latest weather updates and live coverage of this winter storm.
Time for another edition of Tim's Top Tips. This time, I'm helping you keep your house safe in this bitter cold. For any faucets that are up against the exterior wall of the house, you might want to keep a little drip, drip, drip going to keep the water moving and prevent the pipe from freezing. You might also want to keep the cabinet doors underneath that faucet open and let some of the heat get into the pipes. Just be careful of kids and pets getting to all the junk you keep in the cabinet. Man, I got to clean this cabinet out. This one seems stupidly obvious, but keep the garage door closed. Seal up any obvious cracks in windows and doors. Change your air filters in your heating system every 30 days to keep the system running efficiently. Buy these affordable insulated fireplace covers for any fireplaces you're not using. Try to insulate any exposed pipes in your house. See this foam right here? Got it at the hardware store. Dirt cheap and does a great job. For the spigots on the outside of your house, these little caps right here, they do a great job. Easy to install. They just kind of pull on tight. Keep your house safe. Be sure to really take a good look at your attic or crawl space. Just reaching into my own crawl space here right now, I can feel there's a lot of cold air getting in. I need to seal that up. Boom, just like that. Some tips to help save you some headaches and also hopefully save you some money on repairs and your heating bills. I said earlier, this was another edition of Tim's Top Tips. There's really never been another one, but I don't know, maybe I'll do it from now on. See ya.
A winter storm prep hack that everybody should do. You're going to take as many water bottles as you can, and we are going to put them in the freezer. That way, if your power goes out, you can move your water bottles from the freezer to your refrigerator to keep your food cool. Go ahead and do this in the next day or two if you are able, so that way they are nice and frozen if you lose power. You don't want to end up in a situation where you have to throw out a whole refrigerator worth of food. Sincerely, from a Texan who has PTSD from the 2021 February storm.
So yeah, guys, this is very serious. Make sure you prepare. Like I said, I'm going to be doing some more tips. I'm going to scour the internet and try to find everything that I can to bring you more information. And guys, leave any tips that you have below, things that you think that can help people in this situation, things you think that can help me. But with that, guys, I will see you hopefully very soon. If I end up not having power over the weekend or for however long, yeah, you're just going to have to watch me from my phone. But anyway, make sure you guys stay safe. And yeah, I will see you very soon.
I believe she's in Tampa, to be honest with you. So I think she'll be fine. This is more like the rest of us in the North. You know, I was going to end the show there, but I think I can continue because she was mentioning about some tips. And we should get some tips. The train of truth is here. Let's go ahead and get some news from up here from the Northeast. I got 2 from our local news here and 1 from CBS. So, and then I'll end off the show with CBS. So this is more of an emergency type of thing because this is gonna, I'm telling you, it's gonna dominate the news next week and it's gonna paralyze the country for a while. So without further ado, let's continue here and watch.
Now it is all about getting ready for this storm. More than 600 plow trucks and 900 drivers at the state DOT are gearing up. Towns all across the state are also putting their plans in place. Your reporter Susan Raff is live in Wethersfield tonight at the town garage. Hi, Susan.
They're already starting to...
Hi, Aaron. It is kind of eerily quiet right now, but things are going to dramatically change this weekend. Every truck that's in the garage here in the town of Wethersfield has been fueled up and ready to go. And that means plow truck drivers are going to have some pretty long shifts.
We plowed all the streets and got it ready for school and salted everything so it was safe for the kids to go to school and all that.
You would think after 30 years, some would get tired of working during a snowstorm. Not Jonathan Rinaldi. He enjoys his job. Maybe it's because he likes winter. He's also a skier. But make no mistake, driving a plow truck in a snowstorm for 17 hours is definitely long and challenging. He's glad this storm headed our way is on a Sunday, a day when most are not going to work and there's no school. But he says some people insist on taking their chances when the snow is coming down, and it can make his job more difficult.
It's becoming increasingly worse, I would say, over the past couple of years. Definitely, I had some things today. You know, I'm trying to turn around and a car just gets behind me and doesn't want to let me do my thing and just cuts behind me, so I have to stop, and it's dangerous.
The plow truck drivers here in Wethersfield and those all across the state say the same thing. They're asking people who are out on the roads, if you have to be out, please avoid the trucks, give them room.
Essential people should be out on the road.
Coming up on Eyewitness News at 6 here in Wethersfield, it's really a team effort to get everyone to cover this storm and try to be happy. We'll have that tonight.
People that work in hospitals,
your chief
people work at
Susan Raff, Channel 3, live in Wethersfield. All right.
Like public service, like as far as like police, firemen, you know, these individuals are the, you know, like essential workers. Hospital workers are, it's going to be crazy Sunday into Monday. Both days is just going to be, I'll show you guys on I don't know, Sunday. I'll probably go out there and show you guys a little bit on Sunday. And I'll show like Monday how it looks, and it's going to look crazy. And I'll do some before and after pictures. I'll start taking them. I started today, so tomorrow I'll take some pictures and then compare it. Like do like before and after. I think that'd be really cool. Let's watch this one more video, and this is a good tip for people that own homes here up in the Northeast. Let's listen in.
Winter Storm Benjamin, and they need you to do the same to prevent any disasters. Your reporter, Owen Kingsley, joining us live in Seymour now with the things you should be doing, especially as a homeowner, or you want to keep everything good, right, Owen?
Oh, absolutely, Carol. Hopefully everyone out there hasn't had to suffer a frozen pipe at any point so far during this winter weather season. It's important to remember, though, that if that does happen to you, not to overreact. That is a lesson that a New Milford family is learning this week. Tuesday evening, fire crews in New Milford responded to a home on Candlewood Lake Road. They found the residents had tried to thaw a frozen pipe and caught the inside of their wall on fire.
We all have those little momentary lapses of judgment. The big thing is don't use an open flame. You don't want to bring that into a home. You don't want to thaw something out that took time to freeze immediately.
The fire was put out quickly and the damage was minimal. In this scenario, fire officials say it's best to trust a professional who can safely warm up a pipe, a process that can take hours. With temperatures in the single digits Saturday, local plumbers say there are things you should do right now ahead of this Arctic blast to protect your pipes.
Either go around and seal up any drafts, keep the heat up. That's really important. And if you know you have like pipes on an outside wall, you want to open the water spigot and let it run, cold and hot.
Coming up in the next hour, the odorless and invisible killer carbon monoxide, a warning from Seymour fire officials of things to keep in mind during the storm. Your reporter, live in Seymour, I'm Owen Kingsley, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Okay, so we're going to the last video of the night. And that one, let me see if there's anything else. Because there might be other stuff we could watch. But no, everything looks good. Everything. I think we're going to go straight to the CNN. So, actually, the CBS. So, let's go to CBS. And this is the last video of the night.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. More than half of the country is bracing for a massive winter storm that could start as soon as tomorrow. Snowy and icy conditions will stretch from the Northeast all the way down to Texas and New Mexico. Experts are warning some Americans could be facing power outages and major travel disruptions over the next 5 days. Multiple airlines have already started canceling flights in states including Tennessee and Texas. Preparations are underway in some states, with local transportation departments preparing roads with salt and readying snow plows, while some areas, including upstate New York and parts of Pennsylvania, have already been hit with inches of snow. In Texas, some residents are preparing by buying generators, worried they may lose power after the state 21 storm that left more than 200 people dead. Governor Greg Abbott tried to assure residents
I'm telling you, this is going to be bad.
prepared.
The ERCOT grid has never been stronger, never been more prepared, and is fully capable of handling this winter storm. There is no expectation whatsoever that there's going to be any loss of power from the power grid.
The power lines is what's going to fall.
We have team coverage of the winter weather ahead from New York to Texas. Lonnie Quinn will join us in a bit with the forecast, and we'll hear from one of our local stations about how residents are prepping in South Jersey. But we're going to begin our coverage tonight with CBS News correspondent Jason Allen in Fort Worth, Texas, where up to a ½ inch of ice is possible. So what are locals there doing to prepare?
Yeah, well, Lindsay, you nailed it. And it's going to be that sleet and that ice that falls first here. Now, to talk about what they're doing to prepare, look at this downtown area, right? And we're in Fort Worth. This is I-35W and 30. And look at all these raised overpasses here. You have all over this area. None of this insulated. So for the past couple of days, crews here. And if you looked at the lines in the road, it's almost a white dusty on the lanes. That's just from all of the brine that they have been drenching this road surface with. And that's their best protection here. We don't have
a mixture of water and
they're going to have to the north. Just here in Fort Worth, they've only got like 30 sand trucks to handle all of the city.
Oh my God, only 30?
Of more than 1 million people. On top of that, they've got extra crews from state troopers here. They prepared the water system. They're getting better with that. That's something that they had trouble with 5 years ago when we had the freeze. They're opening up warming centers as well, but they're expecting this and preparing for this to be a 3-4 day event before temperatures are back above freezing again.
And what are people you're talking to saying? I know they get a doozy every now and then, but is this still pretty rare?
It really is. And it kind of shocks people into action when something like this happens, Lindsay. So we were at a couple of stores today, hardware stores, right? Big box stores, Home Depots, Harbor Freight. People coming in looking for generators. But guess what? They're already gone. Heaters already gone. You could go to stores yesterday, bottles of water already gone. So when you go through something like this and you're told it's going to last 3 or 4 days, people a lot of times don't keep the materials they need to get through that. And they definitely still remember what happened back in 2021. That really sticks in everybody's memories here. So they're trying to get ready for something like that, even though, as we heard from state officials, they feel they are much better prepared than they were 5 years ago.
Wow.
Okay, Jason Allen, thank you. While the South braces for icy conditions up north, we could get hit with piles of snow. Some parts of Pennsylvania are expecting up to 14 inches to fall throughout the weekend. And in South Jersey, people could see upwards of 12 to 16 inches. That's where we find Ryan Hughes from our CBS Philadelphia station.
Just getting a late birthday gift.
It comes with $37.56.
Like
The past 2 days, registers have been ringing, and cashiers at Grocery Outlet Bargain Market in Sicklerville have been getting a workout while scanning some of the essential items many people are buying before the big snowstorm.
It looks like this time we're actually going to be getting some serious snow.
Christian Aviles is picking up snacks for his 2 young kids, one of his many stops while getting ready for Sunday's snowfall.
Getting little food items that we didn't pick up yesterday. So yeah, we're definitely trying to beat the rush because I know it's going to
tomorrow in the morning.
From fresh vegetables to the snow day staples, milk, bread, and of course, eggs.
Yesterday we sold 40 cases, and there's 15 dozen in every case. So that's been a big hit. And then obviously the essentials, meat, bread, milk. You know, you need to make sure you have enough of that no matter how long.
I got a whole gallon of milk.
And some shoppers in Cherry Hill woke up early and stopped by the Home Depot looking for a different kind of storm supplies.
Just came out with some ice melt and a new shovel, supposedly ergonomic, supposedly less strain on the back.
The rush is on in South Jersey before the major storm hits this weekend.
I'm excited. I like snow, especially when you don't have to work. I used to be a letter carrier. I'm glad I can just look at it and don't have to go out in it.
And the owner of the store tells me over the past 2 days, he has sold more than 10,000 eggs, and this storm is still several days away. He's opening up an extra hour early on Saturday to give people more time to prepare. Reporting in Sicklerville, New Jersey, I'm Ryan Hughes.
Ryan, thank you. CBS New York's chief weathercaster Lonnie Quinn joins me now on top of the broadcast center. What is sight behind you? I love what that woman said. She's like, I love it. As long as you don't have to work, you can just look at it. What are we in for?
Okay, this has the potential to be a big storm, but in terms of tracking the storm right now, Linz, I want to stress this not just to you, but to everybody right now. When we track a hurricane, the hurricane is formed and we have an idea of where it's going. We get data from the storm itself. The storm has not even formed yet. All right, it should be forming tomorrow. Right now, we're working off of 2 long-range computer models. We'll have 6, 7, 8 at our disposal once it forms tomorrow. So for Dallas, places in Oklahoma, make your preps today, tonight. Get out there tonight and take care of it.
Yeah, you don't got time.
All right, let's get right to it. What are we looking at? This is
Yeah,
clearly a snow and ice threat by all regards. Icing is the biggest worry out there. We'll talk about that here in just a bit because it's going to be, as you just heard from Jason, a lot of ice potentially.
That's a lot of ice.
Can you imagine that? Everything coated in an inch of ice. It looked like a crystal palace, but you can't move. In terms of snowfall, some folks can be seeing 12 to 18 inches of snow. Let's get right to that accumulation map, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Wherever you see that bright pink, that's that 12 plus. And again, we're seeing the upper limits. 16, 18, some see it higher than that. It could be anywhere as you push into, say, the New York City metro area. And you asked me when we started this little conversation, Linz, you know, what's this going to be like? And when's the last time we saw something like this? We haven't had a foot of snow or more in New York City since 2021. Our record setter, 2016, put down 27 inches. I don't see this being a record setter for us, but this is going to be a very problematic storm with the snow, with the wind, the real cold air that's out there as well, and some icing and mixing, even possibly here in the tri-state area. Linz?
Lonnie Quinn, the best of the biz. Thank you so much.
That's the bad part, is the ice. And the ice is what's going to cause a lot of problems, and a lot of lives are going to be lost. You know, it tends to happen. The last time this happened, it was over 250 people died because of accidents and things that happen. And when you get that much ice, accumulating like over 3 inches in some places. That is, I don't care. Nobody could get through that type of ice. Shit, let alone an inch of ice. An inch of ice, that's paralyzing. And people make a lot of mistakes. They go outside, they slip, fall, bust their hip, and rescue cannot come and get you because they can't drive on the ice. So they have to wait till the storm passes, and then once the ice dissolves, then come out. This is going to be a very horrible situation. I'll be covering it more up tomorrow, and through the weekend. I guess I'll be on here through the weekend. I guess I'm not taking the weekend off, but I'll be here. I'll be covering it, and wherever you guys are, stay warm, and we'll try to figure this out. I'm like, I'm dealing with it because it's 2 feet of fucking snow coming this way. So I'm like, I got my own problems. But anyhow, have a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night, and I'll catch you on the flip side. And I'll see y'all tomorrow, and we'll continue on with the weather, and hopefully it's not doom and gloom for everyone. It should be okay. We will survive. Trust me, we will survive. All right. Good night, guys. Peace.